Okay, House Committee on Elections will now come to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Chair Laubenberg,
Here.
Vice Chair Goldman, Representative Reynolds,
Here.
Representative Pat Fallon,
Here.
Representative Israel, Representative Dade Phelan,
Here.
Representative Schofield.
Here.
Okay, looks like we have a quorum. And so what we're going to do, we have a lot of bills that are coming to this committee. I'm doing my best to hear as many of them as I possibly can. So I thought I was being very aggressive, setting 17 until I found out another committee set 40. So, but out of consideration for the members, I don't want to keep them here all night long. And so we want to make sure that, a lot of folks come in and then they have to leave. So we want to try and make sure that everyone has an opportunity to testify. So I'm just asking for your indulgence to be as succinct and direct as possible in your testimony. And with that, we will go ahead and get started. We're going to hear Chairman Elkins' bill. So that chair lays out House Bill 2778 for consideration and recognizes Chairman Elkins to explain.
All right, thank you, Chair Lodberg, members in the committee, and giving me the opportunity to lay out House Bill 2778. Currently, overseas voters can receive a ballot by email if a federal candidate or issue is on the ballot. House Bill 2778 would mirror federal law and allow a ballot be sent by email to overseas voters for any election, including state and local. Currently, for a federal election, the county clerk will provide a secure ballot by email to the registered overseas voters that contains a randomly generated unique secure barcode that identifies that ballot. The voter prints the ballot, completes the ballot, signs the ballot, and returns by mail. The county clerk has the secure barcode on file to verify the ballot is valid. The ballot board will verify the signature on the ballot with the signature on the application maintained by the county clerk. If they can't verify the signature, the ballot is rejected. HB 2778 will allow our soldiers overseas to receive a ballot in a timely manner for all elections, not just federal elections. House Bill 2778 will simply bring state law in line with federal law to allow overseas voters to receive a ballot by email for all elections. And I do have Ed Johnson from the Harris County Clerk's Office here as a technical witness if any members have any questions.
Okay, members, are there any questions? Okay, and you want to close, so. All right, so the chair recognizes Ed Johnson. Let's get that moving. Okay. Ed Johnson with the Harris County Clerk's Office in favor of House Bill 2778. But can you state all that over again,
Yes,
please?
I can. Ed Johnson with Harris County Clerk's Office, here testifying in favor of House Bill 2778. This has been a very good program for us for our overseas military people to be able to email them. We generate a ballot like you would for a regular postal ballot, and we put it in a PDF form and email it to them where they print it out on their end when they receive it and mark it and vote it like you would a regular mail ballot. They sign it. They enclose it back in an envelope with a signature on the outside of the envelope. They're given instructions that it's not a regular envelope from us, but they're given instructions to put a signature on the outside of the envelope, and then they return it, actually mail it back to our office, where the ballot board then uses the regular signature verification process to determine that the application signature and the ballot signature were the same to approve the ballot, or if it was a question in the signatures, they review the ballot or reject it if the signatures were possibly different or fraudulent. This has tremendously helped overseas voters in getting their ballots in a timely manner. That was one of the reasons why we had to move or the federal law put into effect the MOVE Act, that we had to have our elections so far apart, was to give us 45 days to mail ballots to people. With this email capability where we can email it, one way to them, it greatly increases the time and efficiency that these people get the ballot. Now, they actually have to apply for this. They actually have to say, yes, we would like to have our ballots emailed to us. When we come up like this state constitutional election we'll have in December or September, whenever it is that we're going to have it, That will be a state election, and it will not have a federal issue on it. It won't have a federal office on the thing. So under our state code, we cannot email these people. Our military people sees the ballot, and they question us of, I wanted my ballots emailed to me. And we have to tell them, well, sorry, the state law doesn't allow that. So what this does is actually help us implement what is working very well in federal law into our local state law.
Okay, any questions? Okay, so this lines up with what we're already doing now.
It lines up with what we're doing. What we're doing now is working great. And as far as ballot security, it's very unique. Each ballot has a unique code printed on it that's randomly generated by the software that's approved by the state, so that you can't just forge that ballot and create others on down the line. That ballot can only be voted one time.
Okay, great. Oh, yes, Representative Schofield.
Just a quick question. Chapter 101, does this apply only to military, or
It applies to anybody that has applied for a federal postcard application. So it could be overseas workers. If they're working with, some oil company or something overseas, it would apply to them too.
and does it apply equally to the folks who say that they're overseas? I forget what the terminology we use, but more or less permanently. I forget what our terminology is in the code.
Yes, it was. In any federal postcard application we receive.
Okay, and so they'll get a full ballot down to.
No, they will not get a full ballot. They would still only apply for the ballot that they applied for. If they only request a federal ballot, then they would only get a federal ballot. But we would be able to email that federal ballot to them.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, that's it.
Thank you, members.
Okay. Chair recognizes George Hammerling, Harris County Clerk's Office, in favor of the bill.
Good evening. My name is George Hammerling with the Harris County Clerk's Office, here in support of Chairman Elkins' bill, HB 2778. Won't go over everything that has been said previously, other than one other component that's kind of unique, since we are just trying to harmonize with the federal law. In Harris County, with so many state reps and 6 Senate seats that touch it, every time there's a special election, which has a very short window, not the 45 days for federal, this enables us to have a better chance of getting the ballot to the individual overseas and getting it back in time. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Chair recognizes Alan Vera, Harris County Republican Party Ballot Committee. On the bill.
Alan Vera, Harris County Republican Party Ballot Security Committee, testifying on HB 2778. We applaud the efforts to accelerate the speed with which our military personnel and others receive their ballots for voting. However, in expanding the selection of ballots from only federal to local as well, the price goes up. So we would urge the committee and all those involved to be very careful. There has never been a code invented yet that hasn't been cracked. That's our testimony.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Chair recognizes Laquan Rogers, Get Fit Wit Me, W-I-T?
Yes, ma'am.
Get Fit Wit Me, in favor of the bill. Is she here? Okay. She is in favor of House Bill 2778, but does not wish to testify. Anyone else?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do y'all have any questions for the Secretary of State? Okay. All right. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor, against, or on House Bill 2778? And seeing none, then the chair recognizes Chairman Elkins to close.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I just ask for your favorable consideration, and if it's in the inclination of this committee, y'all understand these issues better than me, to go to local and consent, I'd appreciate that. But if that doesn't work, general will be fine too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And at this time, we will leave House. Oh, let me just tell this in the sake of time. No, you're okay, Gary. In the sake of time, if you have signed up in favor or against or on a bill but do not wish to testify, I'm not going to read the names out. We're trying to move it as fast as we can. If you're uncertain, you can certainly check with the clerk to make sure your name is on the list. But I'm only going to call out the witnesses who wish to testify, just in the, for the sake of time, so we can move along. All right, so with that, House Bill 2778 will be left pending at this time. And so next, the chair lays out House Bill 2029 by Representative Hughes, and to explain the bill.
Madam Chair, members of your committee, and your excellent staff, thank you for hearing this bill. House Bill 2029 is an excellent bill and a pretty simple bill. You've heard that before. This one really is a pretty simple bill. 2029.
Simple or excellent?
It's both. It's both. And simple helps. One helps the other. But that's a good question. So this is about qualification for office. This bill would have no effect on legislative offices, but state, county office holders elected to a regular term in the regular election, they qualify for and assume office January 1st after that November election. We understand how that works. Now, many of our counties have swearing-in ceremonies for all the new county officials, and they want to do that in late December after the canvass of the vote, after the winner's been declared. They don't take office then. They just participate in the ceremony, and then on January 1st they become eligible. But under current law, even if they've taken the oath at a ceremony before, they have to be given the oath again after 12:01 a.m. January 1st. And so it's a bit inconvenient. And so one of our district judges who helps with a lot of these swearings in came to us and said, why don't we allow the oath to be given after the vote's been canvassed, we know who the winner is, give the oath, the official will still not take office until 12:01 a.m. January 1st, but it would allow them to be eligible and immediately at 12:01 a.m. January 1st to take office. They don't start any sooner. It just saves the formality of having to give the oath again at 12:01 for those counties that want to have a ceremony at a more convenient time after the canvassing of the votes, but before the swearing in on January 1st. That's all it does. No effect on our offices or in the Senate or Lieutenant Governor, those offices that are keyed, and the Governor that are keyed to, of course, ours in the session, that sort of thing. So all the bill does, no effect on when they can take office, just when they can take the oath. A little more flexibility. And I would yield for your questions.
Any questions, members? Okay.
Respectfully reserve the right to close, Madam Chair.
All right. Well, we have a couple of witnesses. So the chair recognizes Alan Vera with the Harris County Republican Party Ballot Security Committee in favor of the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Alan Vera, Chairman, Harris County Republican Party Ballot Security Committee, testifying for HB 2029. Thank you for the opportunity. We support the bill because it is more efficient. Thank you.
That is perfect. Thank you. Very efficient. Okay, so the chair calls up LaQuinn Rogers with Get Fit With Me in favor of House Bill 2029, and it doesn't look like she's here, so she chooses not to testify. Okay, and y'all have any questions for the Secretary of State? Okay, no questions. Is this it on the witnesses?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, is there anyone else who wishes to testify for, against, or on House Bill 2029? Seeing none, and we have the list of those who do not wish to testify, as y'all know. We will recognize Chairman Hughes to close.
Madam Chair, thank you. Our friend from Harris County said it well. More efficient, that's what it's about. Doesn't hurt anything, it only helps, and I would respectfully ask for your favorable consideration, and I close.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we'll leave House Bill 2029 pending.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And next, the chair lays out House Bill, let's see, I'm looking, 1114, and recognizes Representative Gonzalez to explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, House Bill 1114 gets our school district employees out of the business of campaigns and campaign financial reporting by requiring specific purpose committees to file with the Ethics Commission instead of the school. So we have a PAC for a bond election. They filed an 8-day report. Somebody asked for that 8-day report. The school districts took a stance of 10-day open records, standard request. Problem is that's worthless at that point. So there was a huge conversation on how do we fix this. My fix is easy. Have them report to the Ethics Commission just like we all do. That way, it provides school districts ability to focus on teaching and preparing our students instead of dealing with cumbersome open records requests. It's more efficient in delivering those requests, and it's more transparent, since the Ethics Commission is better equipped to deal with these requests. Simply file with them instead of the school district.
Aren't we moving for that anyway? Didn't we require some of the county offices to file with the ethics?
And there are more conversations, Madam Chairman, on city and county and all
Right.
kinds of things going forward. There were some questions about whether it was the trustees as well. I'm keeping this as simple as possible to get it moving. So I think the most important part is the PACs.
Right.
To get the special purpose PACs, let's just get them first, and we'll deal with the rest of it later. But let's move these guys to Ethics Commission.
All right. Anyone have any questions?
Just a quick one, if I might.
Rep. Schofield.
I just want to make sure I understand how the bill works. The subsection A, what you're leaving, is what? Filing for a place on the ballot and all that. What stays with the entity that's running the election?
So the intent, Representative Schofield, is that the ISD would then simply have a link on their website that says the PAC reports can be found here.
Well, no, I don't mean that
Chip
part. I mean, the B part is pretty simple. What I'm saying
Okay.
is, what are we leaving with the locals? What are we filing within your place on a ballot? What else?
We
Anything
were
else?
making sure that we weren't getting the trustees in this. I want to make sure that the trustees were filing the same way they've always filed. Didn't want to capture them in this. This is just the special purpose facts.
Thank you.
Okay, pardon me. Chair recognizes Representative Reynolds here. Oh, did you already call? You have?
Yeah.
God, it's been a long day.
No problem.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. Never mind. Sorry to interrupt. Go
Good.
ahead.
All right. Anything else?
All right. Any other questions? Okay. Then Chair calls up Bill Fairbrother with the Texas Republican County Chairman's Association in favor of House Bill 1114.
Yes. Bill Fairbrother with the Texas Republican County Chairman's Association and also Williamson County Republican Party Chair. It was one of my precinct chairs who can't be here today that put in the request with the ISD, and he just asked me to come and speak in favor of it since I was going to be down here. He basically put in a request for the 8-day report, 8 days out. 4 days later, the legal department came back to him and said, you need to put in an open records request. He did it that day. They then responded with the standard form of potential charges for open records requests, pages and research, and said he'd get it about May 21st, about 11 days after the election. And he did receive the report about 5 days after the election. And just to avoid disappointment in voters and activists interested in seeing the data, as Representative Gonzalez mentioned, sending it to the Ethics Commission where everything's automatically put online and easier to find PACs seem to be the logical solution, so I urge support. Thank you.
Great. Any questions, members? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair calls Colleen Vera, representing herself on the bill.
Hi, I'm Colleen Vera. I'm representing myself today on House Bill 1114. And I'm on the bill because I'm one of those weirdos that actually researches these PACs. And besides the fact that citizens have to pay from their own pocket to get the documents because of the way some ISDs have stored them, I would like to see included the community colleges or junior colleges. We have the exact same problem with them. We cannot find out the PACs that are supporting the bonds until 10 days after the election, because by the time you file the open records request, it's 10 business days, which is actually 2 weeks. So you get this delay, and then you have to go drive to the junior college and pick it up and pay for the open records for all the documents. So it would be greatly appreciated if we could add community colleges to this. Thank you.
Hey, I don't think you're weird at all. I appreciate what you're doing. So we need more of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions, members? Okay. Thank you. I already called that one.
No,
Oh, okay. All right, so we have LaQuinn Rogers, Get Fit with Me, in favor of House Bill 1114, who signed up to testify but is not here, so she does not wish to testify. Is there anyone else who wishes to testify for, against, or on House Bill 1114? Seeing none, then the chair recognizes Rep. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Like I said earlier, there are a lot of people who would like to add into this. I am just trying to get this done this session so it relates to the school districts and not loaded up with all the other possibilities. Let's just take care of this one first, get our ISD employees out of the business of campaign finance reporting, and get on down the road and we look how this works and adjust it next session for all the things. I just really would like to just keep this one going forward.
Okay.
With that, I close.
Thank you. And at this time, we'll leave House Bill 1114 pending.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. All right. Chair lays out House Bill 3902 and recognizes Representative Vo to explain his bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. After primary day voting, each political party in Texas begins a series of conventions. And the most efficient way to communicate with members of the party about these conventions is through information given out at the polling places. Under current law, the party can only place a poster in the polling location. Few voters notice this poster and they have little ability to capture that information for later use. House Bill 3902 allows a political party to make a small handout available to give to each voter that will have information about the party itself and time and locations about the upcoming convention process. This will enable the voter to actually walk away from the polls with written information for later use. Currently, the primary election officials either stamp a voter registration card or they must hand the voter a notice that is proof of participation in the primary. The notice says this voter has voted in the Democrat or Republican primary. The voter then uses his slip or the stamped registration card as a proof of voting in the primary. House Bill 3902 says that if the party provides an information form, then that becomes the proof of participation in the primary. So we're not adding any new step and no new cost, but replacing an old process with a more appropriate one that actually tells the voters information that they need and if they wish to participate in party affairs and their party conventions. And I have several witnesses here.
Okay, I have a quick question. So if you have, both primaries together, same room, same table, then each party would be allowed to pass out their precinct convention information.
Right.
And if they wanted to give information about their local party, county party, that would also be included on that.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Y'all have any questions? All right. And you want to reserve the right to close?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Okay. Chair recognizes or calls up John Oldham, the Texas Association of Election Administrators, in favor of House Bill 3902.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. I am John Oldham. I am the president of the Texas Association of Election Administrators, speaking in favor of House Bill 3902. We certainly support anything that it gets more folks engaged in the political process. We have one issue with this bill, and that is we would like to see some amendment to it that would allow or would require the parties to subject them to a deadline, so that if they're going to provide us with materials to be disseminated at a polling place, that they can't do it on the Saturday before an election once we've already delivered to those polling locations. So we support this bill with the idea that there should be a timeline involved somewhere between 21 to 30 days so that can be included in the early voting materials that are shipped out to polling places usually 4 days before early voting begins.
Okay, any questions? All right, thanks. All right, Chair calls Alan Vera with the Harris County Republican Party Ballot Security Committee against the bill.
Alan Vera, Harris County Republican Party Ballot Security Committee, testifying against HB 3902. We are opposed to this bill as currently worded because we're not clear. We're not clear if this letter passed out by the parties is an automatic invitation to attend the state conventions as the bill currently says. We're not sure that the bill replaces or simply supplements the proof of actual voting participation given to the voter. So we would request that before this bill is moved on, these questions be clarified.
Chair recognizes Representative Reynolds.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you're not against the bill, you have some uncertainty regarding some of the language, and you just want more certainty?
Our concern is with the language, yes,
Right,
sir.
okay.
The issue is that it's not clear that receiving a letter telling you about the state convention automatically qualifies you to attend.
Okay.
Because both parties have processes by which eligible candidates to be state convention representatives are elected. Okay, at the precinct level, then at the SD convention level, and then to the state convention. That's not clear.
And your concerns are well-founded. Have you had an opportunity to speak to Mr. Vo yet?
I have not at this time.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, members? All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. Chair recognizes, or calls Glenn Maxey, Texas Democrat Party, in favor of House Bill 3902.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I'm Glenn Maxey with the Texas Democratic Party, here in favor of House Bill
3902.
3902. This is actually a bill that I brought to Representative Vo in order to help give people more information about their convention process. And clearly, I will work with Mr. Vera and Representative Vo to take care of both the election administrator's deadline problem and to be very clear. When we talk about the time and places of the convention, we meant for people of the first steps of the convention, not that they can automatically go to a state convention. We can clarify that up and work it all out.
Okay. Great. Any questions? All right. Thanks. Okay. Chair calls Colleen Vera, representing herself, on House Bill 3902.
I'm Colleen Vera, representing myself on House Bill 3902, and I also have trouble with the wording as an educator because it says may and then must and then may, and I know when you tell people that, it just just causes confusion. So I think if we work on the wording, the concept behind it is good. Thank you.
Great. Can you work with Representative Vo on that? Are there any other questions, members? Okay. And so Chair calls Ed Johnson with the Harris County Clerk's Office on the bill. And I don't see Ed. Where's Ed? Okay. He does not wish to testify. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor, against, or on House Bill 3902?
We do have.
We do? Oh, yeah. Okay. So Chair calls LaQuinn Rogers with Get Fit With Me in favor of House Bill 3902. I do not see her, so she obviously does not wish to testify. So, you know what? Keith Ingram, as Secretary of State, could you come up? I'm going to ask you a couple of questions here on the bill.
Keith Ingram here from the Texas Secretary of State's Elections Division here on House Bill 3902.
Okay, so right now, from what I understand, is when some of the election judges wanted to be able to pass out basic information, that was considered electioneering.
That's right.
Is that right?
That's right.
So we have to change the law.
That's right.
Okay.
In order to make this allowable and not electioneering,
Okay.
a bill like this needs to pass.
But do folks understand this? It's not electioneering for a candidate or anything. I mean, this is party information to people who have voted in that party's primary.
Yes, and to make that clearer, you know, it would be good if this bill would include either having us look at the proposed notice ahead of time or tying the information to 172.1111, which is the current posting of the precinct conventions. And so if it's tied to that information, then we wouldn't need to look at it. But if it's not tied to that information, then probably we should look at it just to make sure it doesn't have any extraneous electioneering kind of info more than just the precinct convention notice.
Okay, so you'd like something in there that they would run it by you guys.
Right.
And each county chair would probably be the one to do that?
That's right.
Each party chair in each county.
Either that or tie it to the information that's already in the code for the precinct convention notice that's posted on the door.
I got you.
Either one of those, and we prefer that it just be tied to the existing 172.111.
So you're not having to read 254 notices.
That's
Actually, double that. So,
exactly.
Gotcha. Okay. Y'all have any other questions? Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
All right, we need to please we need to call Colleen Vera up again because it looked like you registered twice. So Chair calls Colleen Vera, representing yourself on the bill. Sorry, you're on there twice. It's just a technical, you don't even have to say anything.
Okay. Colleen Vera on House Bill 3902.
Okay, you've done it, you registered that you were on, and now you've registered that you are against. So what would you like to be?
On the bill.
On the bill. Okay, we got it.
But we will change that.
Okay. And is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor, against, or on House Bill 3902? And Representative Vo, you want to close?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I will work with the interested party and make sure that to clarify the intent of this bill. And with that, I close.
Okay, well, before you close, I think, as you can see, there's a lot of positive interest.
Right.
So if you can get those things cleaned up and let the SOS show you the area to point to, sounds good.
Sure.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
with that, we're going to leave House Bill 3902 pending. And so now, who is sitting out? Okay, Bill, I see you. Bill first. He was out there first. Chair lays out House Bill 221 and recognizes Representative Stevenson to explain his bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. This is HB 221 relating to the eligibility of a person to serve as a campaign treasurer of a general purpose political committee. As you know, political campaigns can be heated and costly. Ethics associated with such enterprises should be clear to those engaged in the process, as well as strictly enforced by the Texas Ethics Commission. Presently, there are no rules to prohibit one serving as a treasurer of a general purpose committee if they have been found guilty of an ethics violation by the commission and thus imposed a civil penalty, and those penalties are outstanding either in part or whole. HB 221 amends the election code by making a person ineligible for appointment as a campaign treasurer of a general purpose committee if the commission imposed a civil penalty on that person during the election cycle before the election cycle in which the person seeks to become a campaign treasurer, or any previous election cycle if the amount that the civil penalty was unpaid during the election cycle before the election cycle in which the person seeks to become a campaign treasurer. An election cycle is defined as 2 years. Basically, simply, if you're found guilty of an ethics violation, have been levied a penalty, and have not paid that fine, you cannot serve as a treasurer of a PAC until you have paid the fine, setting out 2 years. This only applies to a general purpose committees whose contribution expenditures in that aggregate exceed $5,000. I'll take some questions.
Okay, Representative Schofield.
I just have one question. A lot of times we have laws that will disqualify from somebody if they have a criminal conviction, and usually it's after the conviction has become final, after their appeals have been exhausted. And that doesn't seem to be the case here. What if somebody has been sanctioned by the Ethics Commission but is in the process of appealing it? Would they still be barred from serving as a...
They have to clean it up. That's the whole point.
Well, if they're under appeal, they haven't really been finally found yet.
Well, that's true. If they haven't been, we discussed this, and if they haven't been found guilty, if you want to call the point, then they will still be eligible until they're found guilty or not guilty, and then there won't be any problem.
So if the Ethics Commission has imposed a sanction on somebody, but they're appealing the sanction,
right,
under your bill, are they barred from being a treasurer or not?
No, they're not.
They're not?
No.
Okay, because the wording doesn't seem to say that.
That's the intent of it, I think. But it's not to punish people who do the right thing. It's not to punish people who are not found in violation and accepted it. It's to say we got to clean up this thing where somebody who just keeps doing it over and over. And there's quite a bit. If you go look on the penalties on the ethics, there's a lot of penalties up there that is never resolved, and they still do things. And I think we ought to start. And our party's been cleaning up some of this stuff, and that's why I presented 2 bills for this reason, so we can find out, because this is some of this stuff becomes personal when you find out that they're violating ethics, which is everything we do in the election commission. That's my argument.
So it's your intention, if the committee has imposed a civil penalty, but the person's still appealing it,
Right.
that they are not barred until their appeal has been exhausted and they've been found to.
Right. They shouldn't. I mean,
Thank you.
everybody's innocent until proven guilty, I would hope. You got some lawyers here that might know that. Any other questions?
Madam Chair, just one quick one.
Fallon.
Representative Stevenson, so if somebody was fined and they pay the fine, then they would still be ineligible, is that correct?
For the cycle that they did, the next 2 cycles, then it'll be okay.
Even if they pay the civil penalty, even if it was something small, like $50, $100?
Yes. Well, if it's $50, they pay that fine and setting out 2 years. You know, the 2 years, if they paid the fine, it'll be the 2 years and they'll be eligible the next cycle because it's every 2 years, a cycle.
But even if it's something minor, like they left off the political disclaimer or something like that?
Well, again, if there's an ethics complaint and a fine, then I don't care what the fine is they violated something. So that makes reporting done properly, too.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And you want to close?
I reserve the right to close if you got any.
Oh, we got a couple. All right, I'm going to just go ahead and get around the way. LaQuinn Rogers with Get Fit With Me is in favor of House Bill 221, and I don't see her out there, so she probably chooses not to testify. And then Chair calls up John Moore, the Texas Ethics Commission. Do y'all want to say anything on the bill? Mm-hmm. Okay, so what's going on here?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is John Moore. I'm the Director of Enforcement for the Texas Ethics Commission, and I'm here as a resource.
My question, what's going on?
Well, this changes current law. Current law basically applies to a treasurer of a general PAC or a special purpose committee. This would only apply to a general purposes committee. Under current law, you're ineligible unless you pay the fine or the reports are filed. That's the way current law works. This law would create, as Representative Stevens said, a 2-year period of ineligibility for a person to be appointed as a treasurer of a general PAC.
How does that tie in with what Rep. Schofield was asking earlier, if they're in an appeal process?
In the appeals process, because we have a de novo appeal, the order, if the appeal is filed in district court, the order is invalidated. So it starts all over again. So there would not, a person who is properly appealing it under our statute in the APA, there would not be any prohibition based on current law.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. All right. Is there anyone else who wishes to testify for or against or on House Bill 221? Seeing none, Rep. Stevenson, you may close.
And if there's no questions, I'll close.
That's a good way to do it. All right. And at this time, we will Chair leaves House Bill 221 pending. Okay. Chair lays out House Bill 1927 and recognizes Representative Bonin.
Thank you, Chairman and members. I have a committee substitute.
Oh, in that case, hang on. All right. Then Representative Fallon lays out the committee substitute. And let's see. Now, do we have a substitute with us? Okay. And now, Rep. Bonham, go ahead and explain it.
Thank you. Current statute does not require local entities to provide mail ballots to qualified voters who have submitted a request to receive those ballots for all elections in which they're entitled to cast a vote. Recent elections in Galveston County and elsewhere have been conducted without mail ballots being delivered in local contests where multi-million-dollar bond issues were on the ballot. House Bill 1927 amends the election code to require all subdivisions of the state, whether contracting with the county or not, to distribute mail ballots to qualified voters of the jurisdiction. The bill also adds language requiring changes in address to be updated in the county voter registry automatically upon receipt of address change notification. The committee substitute limits this automatic update to intra-county address changes. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'd like to reserve the right to close.
Okay. Any questions? All right. I'll let you close. All right. Please show Representative Israel present. All right. And Chair calls Colleen Vera, representing herself, on House Bill 1927. And please restate all that.
I'm Colleen Vera, representing myself for House Bill 1927, and I'm on the bill. It's definitely necessary. I know a few weeks ago we gave you all some handouts when I was here to show you the lack of mail ballots going out for our ISD bond election. Also, some other local elections like Emergency Services District, no mail ballots coming in at all. When you're talking about maybe 400,000 households, when they're running their own elections, a lot of people don't even know there is an election, so this is really necessary. I have not seen the committee substitute, but my concern is I couldn't see anything in the bill that actually made the special districts actually send the mail ballots if they get this list from the county. So I'm just concerned about that, and if you could clean that up, that'd be awesome.
Well, it does show that the county clerk shall.
Shall. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll shall give them the list and they must mail it out?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's awesome.
That shall is better than may.
Okay, it's much better. Okay. Thank you very much.
Any other questions, members? All right, thank you. Thank you. Chair calls Glenn Maxey with the Texas Democrat Party in favor of House Bill 1927.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I'm Glenn Maxey with the Texas Democratic Party. We're here in support of House Bill 1927. When Representative Miller's annual ballot by mail bill passed last session, it was placed in it that this was only for the elections where the county clerk is conducting the elections or contracted to do the elections. And what we found over the last year is that many seniors, because we all educated people, this is for all elections, and then they really didn't get all elections, because if the city or the school district or the special district was holding their own elections, it didn't apply. So if we are going to tell people you're going to get all of your elections, it should be all elections, and so we very strongly support this.
Okay, any questions, members? All right, thank you. Chair calls Bill Sargent with the Galveston County Clerk's Office in favor of the bill.
Madam Chair, I am the Deputy Chief, here I go again.
Yeah,
Deputy Chief Clerk for Elections of Galveston County, and I'm here testifying in favor of HB 1927. Greg introduced this bill on behalf of myself and the county clerk from Galveston County. He's told you what's in it, but let me give you some meat about what actually is what happened. In May 2014, we had an election, a local election. There were a couple of entities that did not have a contract with us, which is fine. We're not in the business of making everybody contract with us. But my boss and I were talking, Dwight Sullivan, the county clerk, and we said, wait a minute, these people aren't contracting with us. We have 725 ballots that belong in the footprint of one of these jurisdictions. These people want to get these ballots. What should we do? And so he said, well, the right thing to do is to copy these annual ballots by mail and get it to them. So we called the Secretary of State's office and we said, can we do that? And they said, yes, you can. So you don't have to, but you can. So I went ahead and we spent all the time to duplicate these, and we hand-delivered them to this entity. Okay? The entity didn't send them out. The reason is because they weren't required to. In that election, they had a total of 757 votes. They could have almost doubled that if they had sent these out. Now, it's more work for us in the county clerk's office to get this done, because we have to duplicate, get this information out to these people, and whatever. But folks, we're not here about making it easy on the county clerk or anybody else. We're here, all of us, to serve the voter, period. That's what we're about. And that's what all of us should be about. Why should that 83-year-old lady who sent us a request for a ballot by mail for every ballot for the entire year be required to figure out who that entity is contracting with in order to get that ballot? She shouldn't. This is what's right. Greg did what we asked, and we appreciate it because it's the right thing to do. He stands for what's right, just like we do. And we would encourage you to get this bill out and onto the floor and over to the Senate.
Okay, thank you. Rep. Fallon?
Well, sir, that's because Greg Bonnet is a great American.
He is. And am I still a great American? Oh, okay, good.
He doesn't replace you, just adds to you. Any other questions, members? All right. All right, Chair calls LaQuinn Rogers with Get Fit With Me in favor of House Bill 1927. Don't see her, so she chooses not to testify. And do y'all have any questions for the Secretary of State? Okay, is there anyone else who wishes to speak for, against, or on House Bill 1925? Don't see it, so Chair
1927.
I'm sorry, 1927. Oop. 1927, corrected. So Chair recognizes Representative Bonin to
Thank you,
close.
Madam Chair. I close.
Okay, that's it. And at this time, Chair will leave House Bill 1927 pending. All right, and now the Chair recognizes, are you ready? No, I'm ready. Phelan. Let's do Phelan. Okay. Chair lays out House Bill 3786 and recognizes Representative Phelan.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. House Bill 3786 proposes a change to Section 65 of the Election Code that would answer the question about whether or not a provisional ballot envelope is public information during the cure period. This bill will create a section which states that the provisional balloting materials cannot be made public until they have been reviewed, counted, or rejected, thereby limiting any potential for fraud. Essentially, this bill will protect the voter that voted provisionally due to a lack of ID. The state had an issue where candidates in a runoff were trying to obtain the list of those that voted provisionally for a lack of ID in order to assist in curing their ballot. The concern is that a candidate may try to improperly influence or improperly assist a voter that is yet to cure. I believe this happened in Williamson County in a judicial race recently, so I'll be happy to take any questions and reserve the right to close.
Any questions, members? All right. Chair calls up Alan Vera with the Harris County Republican Party Ballot Security Committee in favor of House Bill 3786.
Alan Vera, Harris County Republican Party Ballot Security Committee, testifying for HB 3786. The ballot board in Harris County falls under my jurisdiction, and they have their hands full maintaining good chain of custody and proper control of all provisional ballots as well as mail ballots. They don't need their work interrupted or the integrity of the chain of custody compromised by public access during the review process. Waiting until the ballot board has finished its work is not an unreasonable delay. We recommend you move 3786 out of committee.
Thank you. Any questions, members? All right. Chair calls Glenn Maxey with the Texas Democrat Party against House Bill 3786.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Glenn Maxey with the Texas Democratic Party in opposition to House Bill 3786. We are not opposed to keeping the actual provisional ballot, the ballot envelopes, secure. They should be secure from anyone. I think we have a little bit of a different philosophy from what the Secretary of State proposed here, in that the people who may have voted provisionally and can cure their ballots, we simply believe that the list of who those people are should be a public record so that you can actually contact them and assist them to get in to actually take care of curing the ballot. The ballots are already cast, so you're not going to influence how people are going to vote. They've already have their ballot in. The question is, in that 6-day period from the election and during the cure period, whether a candidate or a party can actually call people and say, do you need a ride in? Do you need us to assist you in getting your ID cured during this period? And we believe that a candidate should be able to do that, or a party should be able to do that piece. Not see the ballots or touch the ballots or anything, but just simply have the list so that we can encourage people to actually cure. If you're in a very tight election and there's 50 provisional ballots, being able to make sure people get in and do what they need to do on time would be probably in the best interest of some candidate.
So what's going on now?
I've talked to a number of people in this room that run elections, and evidently in some counties, the list has been made as a public record, and other counties not. And so I
Trying to find some consistency.
I just think that there is a reason that, I think I've been told that people don't want these people to be harassed. We harass voters all the time before an election. Are you for us? Are you going to vote? When are you going to vote? Have you voted? And we call them and call them and call them and
But
knock
isn't
on their
this
doors.
after they voted? They don't
But-
want to be harassed.
But now they've cast their ballot. The question is, I don't say that we're going to harass them, but I think that people who may have just been handed a piece of paper at a polling place when they did a provisional ballot may not understand that they really do have only 6 days to come in and present their ID or bring in the appropriate documentation. And I think candidates would want to have the opportunity to remind people to do that.
Any questions, members? Okay, thank you. All right, y'all have any questions for anyone, Secretary of State? Okay, is there anyone else who wishes to testify for, against, or on House Bill 3786? And Chair, oh, we do. Did he fill it out?
No, he didn't.
Okay, all right. Can I get you to fill this? You didn't fill out your testimony first. Go ahead and fill it out.
Forget it.
No, fill it out. It's okay.
I'm just going to say that we.
No, we can't. No, we didn't hear it. So sorry, we didn't hear it. All right, Chair recognizes Representative Phelan to close.
I close. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, and with that, Chair will have House Bill 3786 left pending at this time. And now the Chair lays out House Bill 3034 and recognizes Representative Fallon.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. And my esteemed colleagues on the Election Committee, I'd like to lay out for your favorable consideration House Bill 3034. This bill, a very simple bill, allows voter registrar to cancel a voter's registration if a signed statement by a person related within a second degree of consanguinity, which is one of my new favorite words, confirms that a voter is deceased. As it currently stands, voter registrars have to receive a formal notarized letter confirming the death of a voter before they can cancel a voter's registration. According to the Secretary of State's office, this makes the process unnecessarily complicated and leads to an incomplete and often incorrect voting records. This bill will make it easier for a family member or any person related within a second degree of consanguinity to cancel the voter's registration when they pass away. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions of this committee and may have, and otherwise I reserve the right to close.
Okay, are there any questions? All right, Chair calls up John Oldham with the Texas Association of Election Administrators in favor of House Bill 3034.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. John Oldham, President, Texas Association of Election Administrators, speaking in favor of House Bill 3034. It is far more efficient, less intrusive, and we support it. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? All right. Chair calls Glenn Maxey of the Texas Democrat Party against House Bill 3034.
Glenn Max for the Texas Democratic Party. I really meant to be on this bill, House Bill 3034.
Okay, you want to change that?
Please.
Okay, so.
Let me go back.
All right.
Just on it. We visited with your staff, Mr. Fallon, about this bill. We just simply think that there needs to be a statement that sending this in does have a penalty of perjury if you lie on it, just so that people are not reporting that somebody is dead who's not. And otherwise, if there's no penalty, you could have the ex-wife and the former husband getting them off the voter rolls. So I think just a statement of you do this under penalty of perjury, just like we do on a voter registration card, so people would know that.
Hell hath no wrath. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? All right. All right. With that, is there, okay.
I'm so sorry.
All right. Chair calls Bill Fairbrother with the Texas Republican County Chairs Association in favor of House Bill 3034.
Thank you. Bill Fairbrother, Texas Republican County Chairmen's Association. We are very much in favor of House Bill 3034. Like the idea of the warning about penalty for lying. Otherwise, we love the bill and encourage it to be passed. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? All right. Thank you. Chair calls LaQuinn Rogers would get fit with me for the bill, and doesn't look like she's here, so she's not.
Free
Yeah,
advertising, I think.
yeah, I know. Really. Yes, does not wish to testify. Anyone have any questions for the Secretary of State? Okay. With that, Chair recognizes Rep. Fallon to close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am feeling more fit as we go along. But members, I thank you for your time this afternoon, and I close and request that this bill be reported favorably to the general calendar. And I do agree that we'll make a little change and probably have a step with.
We do have one more person.
Okay, we do actually, sorry, unclose.
Okay, I will
We
unclose.
just got in.
I'm
Ed
closing.
Johnson.
Okay, Chair calls Ed Johnson
With
with the Harris County, what?
Clerk's
Clerk's
Association.
office.
Yes.
What's his position?
He is on, excuse me, 4.
For House Bill
Ed Johnson,
3034.
Harris County Clerk's Office for bill number?
Just got in.
3034.
3034.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably, during running elections, one of the toughest time for election judges when a family member comes in and sees their deceased family member on the voter roll, and your bill would allow them to sign the voter roll saying they were deceased, and then we could remove them so that they don't have to see that name every election when they come in, because it takes the state about a year for the paperwork to get processed through to usually take someone off the voter roll from a deceased notice sometimes. So,
Okay, any questions for us? All right, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, so now you can close.
Madam Chair, I close.
All right. Chair will leave House Bill 3034 pending at this time. All right, and y'all have 2 each. Is that it? Oh, okay. All right, and I think.
Chairman Phillips just came in.
Oh, I see him. Okay, him, then you guys. So, all right. Okay, which one is yours? Okay, at this time, Chair lays out for consideration House Bill 3395 and recognizes Chairman Phillips to explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. If you're required to place your name on a ballot, currently you have to have already appointed a treasurer before you expend that money. Oftentimes, especially in local races, they don't realize that. It's just something they don't realize. I had to do that first, especially if they've not been real involved with the party experience, whatever. And there are occasions when sometimes people say, like it's a sheriff candidate. Well, his first act as a running, he violated the law. He didn't even know it. How could he be sheriff or how could he be county commissioner or whatever. What this bill does, and there's a substitute. Did you like the substitute?
Okay. No, I didn't. I'm sorry. Thank you for telling me that. All right. So the chair calls on Representative Phelan to lay out the substitute for House Bill 3395, and
the substitute's just making a ledge council version of the bill.
Okay. Same thing.
The same thing. It's just a ledge council. And so, like this, what this does is it just says you're authorized to make that expenditure for the payment of filing fee in connection with the candidate's application for a place on the ballot at the time, and then at the time a campaign treasurer appointment for the candidate's not in effect, and then they have to reflect that in their first expenditure required under the first report required to be filed as a candidate. Real simple. Again, this is just something that we were looking at some of these. How do we make it easier for people to stay in the process and not do that? And we've seen this time, and normally in a lot of jurisdictions, everybody just kind of ignores it and knows that. But there's sometimes when it can be used or has been threatened to be used. If you don't withdraw and that kind of stuff. I just think it's just good government because a lot of people just don't know that. So,
okay.
Thank you.
Any questions, members? All right. We'll let you close.
Great.
So, Chair calls Bill Fairbrother with the Texas Republican County Chairmen's Association against House Bill 3395.
Thank you. Bill Fairbrother, Texas Republican County Chairmen's Association. Against, is that House Bill 3395?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
While we don't strongly object to it, we kind of feel that we counsel our candidates before you raise or spend any money. You need to file your campaign treasurer. some fear a slippery slope. If we have an exception for this one expenditure, it could start to expand and also could start to confuse some of our candidates on what paperwork they really need to file when. So we're just a little bit concerned about it. Thank you.
Representative Israel.
Mr. Fairbrother, can you name yourself as a treasurer when you're running?
Yes.
Thank you.
And the law also...
Just checking with someone who would know that if you're running and you don't really have a treasurer out yet, you can always write your own name down as treasurer until you find somebody who says, yes, I'll be your symbolic treasurer.
I got you.
And also, the current law is a treasurer form is effective when filed, and it states that's either when delivered or when postmarked. So you decide to run on a Thursday afternoon, as long as you get that form postmarked that day, you file, it's considered timely filed, and you're not in violation of the law currently.
Okay. Any other questions? Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone else who wants? Okay. So is there anyone else who wishes to testify for, against, or on House Bill 3395? Seeing none, Chair recognizes Chairman Phillips to close.
With all due respect, not all county chairmen are equal, and some counties don't have good county chairmen. I would just say that, and with that, I would close.
Madam
Thank you for
Chairman?
your attention.
Representative.
So I know in a lot of, particularly in local elections for small offices, a lot of folks will decide very near the last minute to file, or their friends will get together and go, we need to have somebody. This would just let them get on the ballot and then say, okay, what do I have to do to be a candidate?
Correct, and it's not just the ones that are partisan either. So it's just the confusion. It's the local stuff, and I think I think our party does a pretty good job. But we still have some that decide, hey, I think I can be a county commissioner, and just for whatever reason they just haven't been involved as much. So thank you.
Okay. So with that, you close.
Close. Yes.
All right. So the chair withdraws the substitute to House Bill 3395, and House Bill 3395 will be left pending at this time.
Thank you. Thank you all for your consideration.
Absolutely. I need to walk back because on House Bill 1927, I did not withdraw the substitute. So the chair, I don't know, do I need to open that up again? Or just, okay. I want to reconsider House Bill 1927. And we've closed, and so I'm going to withdraw the substitute to House Bill 1927 and now leave House Bill 1927 pending at this time. Okay. I needed to fix that. Okay.
Did we lay out a substitute for Representative Bowe? Did he mention it? I do not have notes on that.
I know. I'll go look at it.
Okay, yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right. So now, Representative Reynolds, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. And let's see. We'll do yours, and then you can do Chairman Douglas. Okay. All right. So let's see. Chair lays out House Bill 3056 and recognizes Representative Reynolds to explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of this esteemed committee.
And you have a substitute, right?
Yes.
So Chair has Representative Israel will lay out the substitute, and now recognizes Representative Reynolds.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the opportunity to lay out House Bill 3056. This is a cleanup bill requested by the Secretary of State's office dealing with annual ballots by mail. Thanks to legislation passed in 2013, voters who qualify to vote by mail by virtue of being 65 or older or having a disability can apply once and receive a ballot for every election in the year instead of having to send multiple applications. This new process has been a tremendous benefit to our elderly and disabled voters. After using this process for one election cycle, the Secretary of State has identified ways in which the process can be streamlined to better serve voters and our county election officials. First, the MOVE Act changed the election calendar to allow for more days between the primary and runoff election. Second, the election code is silent on if a person can act as a witness for multiple annual ballots by mail. Third, the code does not contain a time frame for submitting an annual ballot by mail or allow for an application to be submitted before January 1st for an election held in January or February. Lastly, the addition of the annual ballot by mail as an option for the voter is currently not required to be on the official application form. Members, we have a resource witness from the Secretary of State's office available to answer any questions. And unless they have any questions for me specifically, I reserve the right to close.
Okay, members, y'all have any questions? All right, Chair calls Alan Vera with the Harris County Republican Party Ballot Security Committee in favor of the bill.
Alan Vera, Harris County Republican Party Ballot Security Committee, testifying for HB 3056. All of the changes recommended in this bill are common sense adjustments to simplify the mail ballot process. I wanted to make sure the committee understands, though, that the changes recommended in Section 2A are desperately needed. Every election season, we're inundated by complaints from relatives of nursing home and state home residents that the staff of the facility is requesting and executing mail ballots on behalf of those patients. The limitation of one witness per election helps clear this up significantly. Please pass HB 3056 out of committee. Questions?
Representative Israel?
Mr. Vera, so if you have a couple of attendants at an assisted living facility and they help, if they each help 2 or 3 people with completing their application, what's wrong with that?
The law, this bill says you may be the witness for one. Doesn't have to do with helping to complete, but be the signed witness for one. And if those people are good enough to be filling out their mail ballot application, they can be witnesses for one another.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Chair calls LaQuinn Rogers with Get Fit With Me in favor of House Bill 3056. I hope she's getting some good advertising.
Every time you say that, you do a push-up.
I know. Let's see. We had to change the name and advertise for someone else. Does not wish to testify. So, Chair Ashley, can you come up? Ashley Fisher was the Secretary of State on House Bill 3056. And can you explain, this is more of a cleanup kind of deal that y'all are requesting?
Ashley Fisher from the Texas Secretary of State's office on House Bill 3056. And this is a cleanup bill. This is kind of accumulation of questions and concerns that we had from counties with the implementation of annual applications for ballot by mail. Mm-hmm. And this just kind of clarifies some of the issues that we had and are putting it in the code. So,
okay. Y'all have any questions on that?
Any specific questions?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for, against, or on House Bill 3056? And seeing none, Chair recognizes Rep. Reynolds to close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, you rarely hear a simple cleanup bill, but this is one for you right here. I ask for your favorable consideration and possible referral to local and consent. Thank you, and I close.
Okay. All right. So the Chair withdraws the substitute to House Bill 3056. And House Bill 3056 will be left pending at this time. Thank you. And I need to do a fix, so I need to recall House Bill 3902 by Representative Vo because I did not lay out his substitute. So I recall House Bill 3902 and recognize Rep. Reynolds to lay out the substitute. And so substitute is laid out. Chair withdraws the substitute to House Bill 3902, and House Bill 3902 will now be left pending at this time. So we got it open, substituted, withdrawn, back to close, back to pending. Are we all clear on that one?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, now Representative Reynolds. Oh, okay, no, Chair. You're going to do Chair Dutton?
Yes.
Bill? Okay. Chair lays out House Bill 816 for Chairman Dutton and recognizes Representative Reynolds to explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know it's my understanding Representative Dutton has had a new addition to his family. His daughter had a baby today, so he asked me if I would lay out this bill for him, and I gladly would do it. House Bill 816, one of the talking points he gave me is that One area that continues to be the subject of dispute in many political campaigns in Texas is the issue of residency. This dispute shows up in congressional campaigns even though a candidate does not live in a district in which they are campaigning. However, most of the controversy occurs in state and local elected political races where candidates are required to live in a specific district. Candidates simply sign an application for the elected office they are pursuing and declare how long they have resided within the state, the district's county, and the district itself. Although the candidate's signature on the application is an actual oath, the application is reviewed only for whether it is filled out correctly as opposed to whether the facts contained therein are true and correct. Texas law appears to be very clear that your domicile or primary residence is the place you live in 6 months and 1 day out of the year. However, this is as clear as mud because there continues to be considerable controversy about an individual's residency in almost every Texas election cycle. Current Texas law does not provide punishment for lying on an application for elected office about an applicant's place of residence. State-imposed candidate residency requirements are extremely important and dramatically affect the rights of voters to elect a person of their choice while protecting voters from fraudulent candidacies. The best way to end the practice of candidates perjuring themselves concerning their residency on an application for elected office is to impose a stiffer penalty, which must include the possibility of confinement in prison. And with that, members, I reserve the right to close.
Okay, any questions, members? I was really looking forward to Chairman Dutton talking about that one. Okay, with that being said, then Chair calls Colleen Vera, representing herself on the bill, but he's got a good excuse.
Yeah. I'm Colleen Veras, representing myself on House Bill 816, and I support the concept of the bill, and I love the fact that it's a felony because I never like someone who's dishonest, but I really have a problem with the definition of residency because right now, when you fill out your homestead exemption, you are signing an affidavit that this is your residence. Same thing with a driver's license and your Texas ID and your voter registration. They're all separate affidavits. They all say the same thing, but we have candidates and office holders who those are different addresses. So unless we actually define which one of those is actually the residence, I don't see how we can make it a felony. The legislature would need to define which one it is, because you'd be surprised how many people have a different homestead than their voter registration, especially they're holding office. Thank you very much.
Okay, any questions? All right. Colleen, did she sign up against it? Okay, it looks like, can you come back up here? So you have registered twice.
No, she only did it once, but she signed, but she was speaking against it. So I didn't know if she was in
You're speaking on the bill?
On the bill.
She's speaking on the bill.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Chair calls LaQuinn Rogers would get fit with me. Do the sit-ups, Fallon. In favor of House Bill 816. Don't see her. She does not wish to testify. All right. And does anybody have any questions with the Secretary of State's office? Seeing none, then the chair recognizes Rep. Reynolds to close for Chairman Dutton.
Absolutely. One of the things I noted from his notes were there were several different candidates that Mr. Dutton had identified that had misrepresented their place of residency, and he wanted to be able to make a bill and put some teeth in it so that there would be some consequences for those who misrepresented their residency. And wish Chairman Dutton was here to answer any questions, but with that I close.
Okay. We'll catch him on the floor.
Yeah.
In between the baby pictures.
Right.
All right. So with that, Chair will leave House Bill 816 pending. Okay. And Celia, did you want to do?
Sure.
Okay. So Chair lays out House Bill 3269 with Chairman Herrero and recognizes Rep. Israel to speak on his behalf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll I'll do it from here, that way I can look you in the eyes. Representative Ferrero had a family health emergency, so I was happy to lay out this bill for him for a number of reasons. One of which I love this idea. It's a great idea.
Any questions, members?
Hang
Oh,
on.
okay. Oh, wait. Oh,
I'm
sorry.
about to
getting
give
ahead
you
of
a few more
What am I
factoids
doing?
here.
I'm in my mind. Yes. You're talking about voting centers.
Yes, House Bill 3269, countywide polling place is the topic. Basically, there's three main issues why we like this this bill. It is convenient, it helps us with voter turnout, and it is tested. Currently, the Secretary of State may select 6 counties with a population of 100,000 people or more, and 4 counties with a population of 100,000 people, of less than 100,000 people, to participate in the program. While those limits have not been reached in previous election cycles, the program has been around long enough and has received overall positive feedback from voters that the restrictions are no longer necessary. Countywide polling places allow voters the convenience of voting at any of the countywide polling places in their county rather than having to return to one designated polling place. I'm not sure if anybody has signed up for this bill, but I do like the bill a lot, and I reserve the right to close.
Okay, I know it's kind of tough because you're laying it out for someone else. But,
Yeah, I should have just told you off the top of my head what it is.
It's all right. It's okay. So, any questions? Oh, Rep. Schofield. Celia.
I just have one. My primary concern with these is that, and not to put you in the spot, but we're all basically in the same position on these in terms of we all have the same experience with elections.
Yeah.
My concern is in Texas we have 2 weeks of early voting where somebody who wants to vote anywhere in the county can do that.
Mhm.
They can have the convenience, they can have the not knowing where to vote. We only have one day where a person who wants to vote in their neighborhood can vote at the church at the end of their street, or in my case, the mud building right at the end of my street.
Yeah.
And I've known for several sessions the folks that are pushing these in the end want to do away with precincts and have the less expensive countywide polling places. That's where they ultimately want to get.
Mhm.
And that bothers me a lot. I mean, my older voters want to be able to just vote in their neighborhood, and if they want to vote anywhere in the county, they have 2 weeks to do that. So that's where I am on these. They concern me a great deal.
Let me relate my own personal experience to you, Representative Schofield, and that is we ran in a special election, and then in November, in an odd-numbered year, and then we had a runoff in January. And we ran in an even-numbered year. Then we had the runoff in January of last year, and there was a snowstorm and ice storm during early voting, and it was a smaller period of early voting. And then on election day, it was another ice storm, and AISD decided they were going to close. So we were scrambling like crazy to send people out to the schools to tell them you can vote at the rec center or whatever else was open. And this doesn't preclude, and I know that people like to vote at their elementary school or where they're comfortable voting. We don't want to disrupt that at all. But in this kind of a situation that I gave you, man, it really helped us that we could just send people and redirect and go wherever it makes sense. And as we're talking to people to help get out the vote, we were able to tell them, if you're downtown and it's 6 o'clock at night and you're worried that you're not going to make it home because of traffic, just go to the courthouse or go to that school that's on your way. In the Austin example, Fiesta, there's a number of different opportunities. So I'd rather give people an opportunity to say yes to voting instead of, well, I wasn't sure who I was voting. And it amazes me at how many years people have been registered and they're still not sure where they're voting. So that's where I'm coming from on this bill.
Okay, any questions? Any other questions? All right, then Chair calls up Alan Vera with the Harris County Republican Party Ballot Security Committee against the bill.
Alan Vera, Chairman, Harris County Republican Party Ballot Security Committee, testifying against HB 3269. We believe the key to the long-term health of the Texas political system and the election process is the grassroots activity inherent at the precinct level. Engagement and involvement of ordinary citizens in running the election process is key to the long-term health of the process itself. We oppose continued or greater centralization of the election process to the exclusion of the precinct grassroots. We ask you not to pass 3269 out of committee.
Okay, any questions, members? Okay, thank you, Alan. All right, Chair calls Bill Sargent with the Galveston County Clerk's Office, but he's a deputy county clerk, right? For House Bill 3269.
Bill Sargent, Chief Deputy Clerk for Elections, Galveston County.
Go ahead.
And I'm testifying in favor of 3269.
Mm-hmm.
He just left. I was going to talk to him about what his concerns were.
Well, we come and go.
I know.
Sometimes nature doesn't wait. So.
Well, okay.
He's going to get fit.
In the meantime, before I do that then, let me just take a minute. I want to tell you something real quickly. I want to tell you a story. I worked on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. I worked for a congressman who was on the Science and Technology Committee. And this particular time, they were holding a hearing like this, and this witness was from NASA. And this congressman from California, not my boss, asked the witness a question. At that point, the witness, the congressman had his staffer leaning over his shoulder, talking to him. So he was talking. The witness said nothing. And then the congressman turned around and said, "That's the most succinct answer we've had all day. No more questions, Mr. Chairman." Everybody cracked up. I want to tell you, though, I've been watching you people for the couple of weeks now. And I've been here. I've been testifying. And I want to tell you that you don't do that. You pay attention to what we say. You honor us. All of us, every person who's been up here, you've listened to. And I commend you for that.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, let's talk about countywide vote centers. And for the record, seeing he's left.
He'll be back.
He'll be back.
We'll tell him.
Here's the deal. We've been doing this in Galveston County since November 2011. We have had absolutely none, zilch, no adverse comments from anybody. Be it the elderly, be it people who are disadvantaged, nobody, not one, okay? Every single comment we've gotten has been positive. Everybody loves it. Now, we added a new location for one location at UTMB in Galveston, the medical branch. For the first time we ever had it there, we had about 180-some votes. Out of those votes, 30% of the people who voted at that location were not people who lived on Galveston Island. They lived elsewhere in Galveston County. Another 30% of the people who voted in that election were not from the precincts nearby where that polling location was. Only 40% of the people who voted at that location were people who were from the neighborhood. Now that's what we're trying to accomplish here. We had another local election where it was just one entity, so you couldn't do countywide vote centers. It had to be precinct specific. And we had a number of voters who walked in and said, they said, you can't vote here because you got to go to this location to vote because it's precinct specific. And they said, wait a minute, I thought we could always vote everywhere we wanted to in this county. What are you guys doing? They were upset because they couldn't vote anywhere. This is a great thing. And I want to tell you, and Keith, you can verify this for me if you want to, but I don't think anybody's knocking down the doors over there to get into countywide vote centers. I don't know whether or not. They should be, but they're not. So lifting that, all you're doing is lifting the number that's in the statute that says how many can apply. You're not getting rid of the application process. You're not doing any of that. Now, the only problem I would see with it is if we did have people knocking down the doors to apply to be a countywide vote center county. In that case, Keith and his people might have a resource issue. But the process is still there. You still got to go through that same process. You got to have a plan. You got to show how you're going to implement it. You got to go out and look at the polling locations. You got to do all that, and you got to locate those locations at places where people can get to them. All right, that's what we do. And again, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Representative Feeling.
Thank you. How many locations before and how many locations after?
We had 66 polling locations before. We can go down now because we've done it for a couple of years. We can go down to as many as 33. We typically have, in a low turnout election like a constitutional amendment election, 35, 36 locations. We don't go down to what we could go down to. And in a presidential or gubernatorial election, we're up around 45. So we increase it based on what we expect the turnout to be. We have a certain core that we always use, and then we add to that as needed. So, and in fact, part of the, I'm Republican, okay?
God bless you.
All right, I'm a good American, I know. But I get along real well with my party chair on the Democratic side. We're buddies, kind of.
Thank
okay?
you.
Well, when in this job, you deal with everybody equally. It doesn't make any difference who's who, because in this job, you're dealing with both parties, right? And part of the deal was I said he was going to support this because he liked the idea. And I said, okay, Lloyd, this is what he was a former representative, Lloyd Chris. I said, Lloyd, here's what we'll do for you. If we can find 52 locations for the presidential election, we'll staff those. We'll do it. We can only find 45 that met all the requirements. That's why we went to 45. It's you have to make sure that everything's ADA compliant. You got to make sure you have internet access. You got to make sure all the things you got to do for an election, parking for everybody, and all that kind of thing. So we can only find 45. That's what we did. But it's a whole lot better than 66, where people have to go to one place and they're there at 7 o'clock or a little bit before 7 o'clock, and I'm in the wrong precinct. Doesn't happen now.
Okay.
So.
Any other questions, members? All right. Thank you.
You're
very
welcome.
much. Okay. Let's see. And Keith, could you come up, please, with the Secretary of State on House Bill 3269?
Yes, Keith Ingram here on House Bill 3269 from the Texas Secretary of State's Office Elections Division.
Can you tell me just what a county has to go through to become or to have voting centers?
In order to go to countywide polling places, the county has to plan ahead. They've got to have a public hearing. They've got to make sure that they got input from the stakeholders who are interested in the voting process in the county. And that committee hearing, the Commissioner's Court hearing, has to be recorded. They've got to have all the right equipment. They've got to have poll books that are internet connected in real time, so that if someone votes at one place, that vote gets recorded so that all the other places show that voter as having voted. And then they've got to have direct recording electronic voting equipment so that they can pull up any ballot style on the machine from anywhere in the county. So they've got an application process. The application deadline for November is sometime in July, so you've got to plan ahead. And what we encourage counties to do if they're interested in countywide polling places is to talk to counties who've been doing it for a while, Lubbock, Galveston, Collin, to make sure that they understand what they're getting into and the difference between that and a precinct-based election day process.
They can mix it, right? I think that's what we did. We mixed it.
Well, what some counties do, here in Travis County, what they do is they keep all the same polling places open. It's just that any of them can be used by any voter. So they've got the normal schoolhouse open. It's just that anybody can vote there, and not just the folks that used to vote in that precinct only.
Do you see this as a possibility of reducing the early voting time? The whole idea about early voting was the convenience and access. So now we're making it very convenient and, trying to keep the lines moving. So,
sure. Most of the voters who vote in Texas vote early, about more than
I'm just asking a question.
Sure. More than 60% of voters who vote early in Texas, and that's been pretty consistent for the last several election cycles.
Getting more so each
and
time.
So, all countywide polling places really does is when a voter is on election day and they're not near their precinct, it enables them to go to a precinct close to their office instead of having to go to a precinct close to their neighborhood. And that's as Schofield said, that's the same option that they have during early voting. The difference is that on election day with countywide polling places, there's more available options than there are usually during early voting. We've got last election and the general election in 2014, I think there was 25 or 26 counties who did countywide polling places. And you say, oh, wait a second, y'all are limited to 6 big counties and 4 small counties. How in the world do you get that many? And it's because in the 2011 session, the legislature created the category of successful. So persons who've gone through a successful countywide election can apply for successful status, and they can keep doing it and not count against the 6 and 4 cap. And that's the reason we don't ever run up against the 6 and 4 cap currently.
Oh, okay. So it's moving without having to change the cap, is basically what you're saying.
That's right.
Because like Collin County, we're considered successful now, so you take us off the
Y'all don't count against
limit.
the big county cap anymore.
Okay. And they have to apply early to give you time to check their whole process.
Right. The early application timeline does 2 things. It enables us to make sure that they've got all their ducks in a row, but it also forces them to think about all the things they need to think about well in advance of being in the middle of it.
So we haven't hit the cap?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Y'all have any other questions? Representative Schofield.
Mr. Ingram, actually looked at the list to see what your name was. Sorry, force it out. Mr. Ingram, you've been doing this for quite some time between your current job and were you general counsel before. During the time that you've been dealing with the countywide polling locations, have you heard advocates for some of the counties who wanted to save money talk about their desire in the long run to have this replace precinct voting?
Well, I'm not sure. I heard you ask that question before, and I'm not sure really.
You don't remember being in the room when they were saying that to us?
Well, I don't know what it means. If we'll always have county election precincts, you'll vote in your precinct with your ballot style for whatever your residential address is. But that's what
I'm talking about, the voting locations, not your ballot style.
The 43007 says that when somebody first goes to countywide polling places, they have to use at least 66% of the previous voting locations for the similar election. And then, as Sarge was saying, they can eventually go down to 50% of the previous locations. And so that's the way it is now in the law. You
don't recall having heard them say what their real goal is?
Well,
because I do.
Right, and I understand that.
And not once.
Sure. But what I'm saying is that the law currently...
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. If you don't remember, you don't remember.
No, I don't specifically. But what I'm saying is that they can do 66% of the previous polling places in the first election that they do countywide under 43007.
Okay.
Can I ask Mike a question?
Yeah, Rep. Fallon.
Can I ask Mike a question? Representative Schofield?
I guess so, Rep. Fallon.
Well, so there's drama here, so what happened? What did they say?
Clearly counties are trying to save money when they do anything. And I've heard over the years that I was doing this in another capacity that they would like to, a lot of the counties wanted to eventually do away with all these messy precincts and all the having to recruit people in all the different precincts. And they want to get away from neighborhood polling places to run the election solely on countywide polling places. And that is my strong concern. I think that folks... again, anybody who wants to vote anywhere they want has 2 weeks to do it. They don't have to worry about where they vote. They can vote anywhere. People who want to vote in their neighborhood only have 1 day they can do that. And I don't want to go down the path of taking it away from them.
Okay.
And
Go ahead.
On that note, in the public hearings for the commissioners' courts, for the counties that are actually considering doing this, that is, if there is opposition to the concept of countywide polling places, it comes from folks who want to vote closer to their home, and they're afraid that if the county goes to countywide polling places, they'll have to drive further. And so that gets aired in the commissioner's court, and we've had counties who started the process that bailed out because of exactly that concern.
Okay. Rep. Reynolds.
And that kind of went to my point. I mean, the commissioner's court, they have to vet this stuff first because it has to go through public hearing. They have to give notice. And then they have to commissioner's court has to vote on it before they can do it, correct?
That's right.
So wouldn't you say that's an extension of local control?
That is local control, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
I mean, so basically, the counties are in the best position to determine what's best for their county, correct?
And that's why the law requires stakeholders to be involved in that commissioner's court process to make sure that anybody that's got an opinion on the matter gets heard locally
Right.
before that decision gets made.
And we're not saying this is best for every county, but those counties who like it, they should, this gives them the ability to do it.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Thanks, Keith.
Thank you.
Okay, Chair calls Mike Conwell, representing himself on House Bill 3269. And when you come up here, please state your name, who you represent, and your position on the bill.
Hi there, I'm Mike Conwell, testifying on House Bill 3269. I'm just testifying on, although I quite really would like for it to happen. The reason why I wanted to speak was, as an election judge since 1998, I've seen the process before and after we had county-wide polling. I actually testified at the County Commissioner's Court for it at the time. I've heard the worry that it would be taken away from precincts, but as I've viewed Travis County, even recently we've expanded it so that the precincts have polling locations, and most of the early voting locations were open on voting days. So we've actually increased the number of locations in Travis County in this program. The main reason I wanted to talk was the workload on the election officials at the polling location. I thought with countywide it would increase. It's actually easier to process a voter if they show up at the wrong polling location, and I can process them as a regular voter. When they go to the nearest place that has a vote here sign and it's not their polling location, I've got to, ideally, to serve the voter, get them to the correct polling location. And at one time that required telephone calls. Now it's a little bit easier. But it's a matter of communicating to them the place that they need to go, instructions on get there before 7, do as much as we can to get them out the door. And the time spent in that is much greater than processing a voter who has simply walked in from another part of the county. So it turned out to be we could process more voters with less effort at our little neighborhood polling location. My first polling location was at 236, one of the two busiest counties in Travis County. My second one's at a YMCA on the border. I have so many lost Williamson County voters that I spend about 25% of my time taking care of them. If I had to take care of lost Travis County voters, it would be far more difficult.
Okay, any questions, members?
Any questions?
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Now, Bill Sargent would like to be called back up again. So the chair calls Bill Sargent. And would you please state everything because it's not written down.
Do I have to go through the whole thing again? Bill
Yes, you
Sargent,
do.
Chief
Yes,
Deputy
you
Clerk
do.
for Elections in Galveston County. Okay.
And your position?
And my position is, what's the bill number again?
Oh, 3269.
Yeah, that's the one. On 3269, I'm in favor. Mr. Schofield, if I may have your attention for a second.
We're supposed to ask you questions, but go ahead.
I know, but I want to respond to some of your concerns because when we started this whole thing of doing countywide vote centers, the purpose in doing it was not to save money. The purpose was to help the voter and make it more convenient for the voter to be able to vote and do it easily. And that was the whole goal. Now, we ended up saving money in the result of it, but that was the purpose. Now,
Very little is more convenient than for me to walk down the street and vote at my mud.
I understand it. Now, but I want to tell you also that I was the person who pushed for having it be successful. You know, if you do it successfully once, you can do it again. But a key to that was that the county commissioners, each election, have to approve that. So if something, and again, you were out of the room when I said this, but we have gotten absolutely no negative feedback at all, period, none, zilch.
Okay.
Now, but
Mr. Sargent, you know what? And because you're out, and I know you're going to be repeating a lot of things, so maybe you can meet with Representative Schofield and have that discussion.
Right, we can
the
talk
bottom line
later.
is there's still local control, and if something goes wrong,
But we don't let the local folks write
I would-
election law in any other area.
Okay, so this could go on,
It won't.
I encourage you to go to him and have that discussion. I know Rep. Schofield is very open to talking to anyone on any issue, so thank you. Okay. No, I think that is a compliment, because you are. You're probably much more open-minded than I am on things, so I confess. But is there anyone else who wishes to testify for, against, or on House Bill 3269? And with that, Chair recognizes Rep. Israel to close.
Thank you for your time, Madam Chair, and thank you, members, for listening. You know, philosophically, I think we should be finding a way to make it easier for people to vote. You know, we had less than 37% of Texans show up to vote at the polls last November, and that's not only embarrassing, it starts to become dangerous. So these are small things. It's not a big thing. If we still have neighborhood polling centers and we still have counties who can engage with the electorate and make sure that we're doing the right thing, and the counties have told us that this has worked well thus far, I think we should make it permissive for other counties to opt in the future. Thank you, and I close.
Okay, thank you. And with that, Chair leaves House Bill 3269 pending. So now, the Chair lays out House Bill 1978 and recognizes Representative Miller, sorry about that, to explain his bill. 1978.
Oops, let me fix my pants here.
And let's see.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members. This is a clarification bill. It was brought to us by the Secretary of State's office, and I believe in the beginning here it's acceptable to both the Democrat and Republican parties. It's a clarification to the election code, specifically sections 141.031 and section 141.065. In section 141.031, it requires a candidate application to be signed and sworn to by the candidate, and 141.065 requires that a candidate petition include an affidavit of the person who circulated it. So there's extensive legislative history dating back to 1905 that have statutes enacted requiring candidates provide written requests for their name to be placed on a ballot, and that such request be signed by the candidate before some officer. Further, there's legal history with numerous cases before the Supreme Court and various appellate courts across the state supporting candidate applications being properly notarized. It's clear from the legislative and legal history that the Texas Legislature intended candidate applications and affidavits of circular were intended to have sworn declarations. So the issue is this: simply adds that a candidate's application for a place on the ballot be signed and sworn before a notary public by the candidate themselves. So with that, there's no fiscal note to this, and I believe the Secretary of State's office is here and willing to testify.
I have a question,
Yes,
Rep.
ma'am.
Miller. Rep. Miller, what is going on now that we need to do this now? You know, what's happening? Are we having folks get on the ballot that they're not really themselves, or something?
I would like to defer that to the
Okay.
Secretary of State. I think they can answer that question better than I can.
No problem. Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any other questions, members? Okay.
Thank you.
Let's see.
I've reserved the right to close.
You got it.
Thank you.
Okay. I think I would like to have Secretary of State come up. Chair calls Ashley.
Ashley Fisher.
Fisher.
Yes, that's okay.
I have a fair. Yes, I'm getting mine. Go ahead.
Secretary of State's office on House Bill 1978. In answer to your question, Madam Chair, in 2011, there was a bill that was passed that amended the Civil Practice and Remedies Code that allowed sworn declarations to become unsworn. The goal there was that things would be easier. An example of Representative Fallon's bill, that you don't have to go before a notary. Our interpretation has been that candidate applications and the affidavits of circulator still need to be sworn to. So there still needs to be the oath, and that needs to be tested too. So we've had some questions since then. This is really just a clarification of legislative intent, of the background of this. And for our office, if anybody asks us, we've always said that we believe it has to be sworn to.
So we used to have to do that.
Yes.
And then we got away from it.
And then we got away from it. There was an amendment to the Civil Practice and Remedies Code that...
That was in 2011?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. So not necessarily specific problems, but just that it got dropped, and it's really better and there's always a notary available when you turn in your application.
I've never heard anybody have a problem finding a notary, so I
Okay.
can't speak if there ever has been, but I don't believe so.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Rep. Schofield.
I have a horrible memory, I'll admit this, but I ran for office before 2011. I don't remember getting a notary. Are you telling me that every candidate for every office in Texas had to get a notary to notarize their application for a place on the ballot prior to 2011?
Since 1905.
I don't remember doing it. I guess they must have had somebody at the party headquarters. Mr. Bohack is shaking his head. He's not testifying. He's just shaking his head. He's tapping to the beat of some song in his head, I
I
guess.
have a copy of the candidate application if you'd like to see it, and at the bottom here it has the that you swear to, and there's a box. And it doesn't have to be a notary. It could be somebody under Chapter 602 from the Government Code that's authorized to give an oath.
Just sounds like an awful lot of candidates on. I just come from a county with a huge ballot. Having everybody, so we've all had to get notarized in the past. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure. Any other questions, members? All right, thank you. Okay, Chair calls Bill Fairbrother. I was going to call you Fisher, but you're Fairbrother. I know that. Texas Republican County Chairman's Association against 1978, House Bill 1978.
I think it's an easy fix. Bill Fairbrother, Texas Republican County Chairman's Association. Currently speaking against the bill as written. On the application right now, it says all oaths, affidavits, and affirmations made within the state may be administered, and a certificate of the fact given by a judge or clerk of any court of record, a notary public, a justice of the peace, city secretary, and the secretary of state. The problem doesn't necessarily lie with candidates for partisan office, but when we have an executive committee and 20 or 30 precinct chairs signing up again to be precinct chairs, we have our justices of the peace, our court at law judges, our district judges all step forward and volunteer to witness or swear the oath. This bill appears to take that possibility out and require a notary and not allow us to have our elected officials who are present and able to handle the caseload of precinct chairs. So if the intent was to allow the swearing to be done by the judges of court of record, justices of the peace, county clerks, district clerks and stuff, we're fine with the bill, happy to support it. But particularly for larger counties with a lot of precinct chairs, where we just have a couple of executive committee meetings during the filing period, having enough notaries present to handle that volume would be an issue for some of us.
Okay. Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay. Here we go. Laquan Rogers, Get Fit With Me for House Bill 1978. You know, we got to have something every time to liven it up. Signed up to testify, is not here, so apparently she does not wish to testify. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for, against, or on House Bill 1978? Seeing none, Chair recognizes Rep. Miller to close.
Just a quick response to the notary and as county chairman for Fort Bend County for 4 years, we never had a problem having all of our, from precinct chair to higher up office, getting notarized applications. So we never had a problem with that in Fort Bend County as county chair. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
Rick, did you guys provide did you provide the notary when they came to the party headquarters to sign up?
It was done that way. We had a notary waiting. Matter of fact, they all filed with me as county chair, so we had a notary waiting there. Or most of them just went ahead and got it done by a bank or somebody else.
It must be, Harris County must have provided them. They must have had them.
Right.
I don't remember running around
We
trying
had
to get one.
every way, you know, at executive committee meetings or coming to file with me. We always had somebody there available to do that.
Okay.
Okay. With that, I'll close.
All right, thank you. And with that, Chair leaves House Bill 1978 pending.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Now, Chair lays out House Bill 2356 and recognizes Rep. Bohack to explain the bill.
Madam Chair, members, this bill is about making elections more efficient, improving access, and easing the burden on voters. I sat on this committee for about 6 years. About every bill was supposed to accomplish that very thing. I think this one succeeds, Representative Schofield. This bill is really so simple. I'm not even going to waste your time by giving you long talking points. Under the election code, an election precinct should have at least 100 registered voters, but not more than 5,000. The election code allows a commissioner's court to combine precincts to avoid unreasonable expenditures for election equipment, supplies, and personnel, but it limits that number so that the combined precinct size will not exceed 750. House Bill 2356 merely strikes that arbitrary 750 combined precinct number and empowers the Commissioner's Court and gives them the discretion to combine precincts in the most efficient manner while maintaining the current 5,000 voter precinct size cap. So even if you combine them, they won't have more than 5,000 5,000 voters. Madam Chairwoman, members, House Bill 2356 will help ease the burden on voters by increasing the flexibility that election officials have to combine precincts. Oftentimes, there is no location in a particular precinct, and it really makes more sense to put it right in the neighboring precinct. But by law, they're prohibited from doing that now. But I can tell you, counties do that, and we're just trying to conform law with existing practice. I do have an expert witness here, and would appreciate if y'all had any complex questions. First, ask them, and then I would be glad to.
Or you could do voting centers.
There you go.
Okay. All right. And you want to close?
I would reserve the right to close if there are no questions. I appreciate it. Y'all have no questions for me at this time.
You got it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Chair calls, let's just get it out of the way. Chair calls LaQuinn Rogers, get fit with me, for the bill, and does not wish or here to testify, but she's not here, so she's wishing not to testify. See, she signed up to testify. Anyway, Chair calls Ed Johnson, Harris County Clerk's Office, for the bill, House Bill 2356.
Ed Johnson with the Harris County Clerk's Office, testifying for House Bill 2356. This is just a very simple bill. It's something that we're forced sometimes to do in practice. We have precincts that don't have polling locations, and instead of having the election judge hold the election in their living room or their garage, we have to combine them with another precinct so that there is a polling location there that they can use some facilities. We have some precincts that are neighborhoods that have no businesses, no schools, no churches in them, and we have to combine them with something else that does. We stay under the 5,000 limit, but sometimes these precincts may be, 1,000 voters, and we combine it with the precinct that had 2,000 voters next door. We're still under the 5,000 limit size for a precinct, but it gives these people a polling location to go vote.
Any questions? Representative Schofield.
And you agree with Representative Bohack's interpretation that although it says regardless of the number of registered voters in the precinct, that even combined they can't pass the 5,000 cap?
Yeah, the 5,000 is referred to in section, I think, 52.06 on the limits to a precinct being greater than 100 and less than 5,000.
But because this still wouldn't be a precinct; this should be combined for voting purposes.
Yeah,
right?
well, when you combine it, it becomes a precinct.
They count. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Any questions for Secretary of State? Do y'all have any? All right. So, is there anyone else who wishes to testify on, for, against, or on House Bill 2356? And seeing none, and the chair recognizes Rep. Bohack to close.
Madam Chairwoman and members, I missed this committee. I served 6 years on this committee, and I do miss not being here. A couple of terms as vice chair.
We miss you.
So anyway, this bill looks more complicated than it is with these arbitrary numbers because we had to reference that piece of the code to do what we're doing now, but the practical nature is it does what I said it does and what the Harris County says it does, and we would just appreciate that type of flexibility given to our Commissioner's Court. And with that, I would close if there's no further questions.
All right. Chair keeps, House Bill 2356 will be left pending at this time.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members.
Okay, Chair lays out House Bill 3972 and recognizes Representative Meyer to explain his bill. And let's see, make sure there's no substitute. And you have a substitute. So, Chair Rep. Phelan lays out the substitute to House Bill 3972 and recognizes Representative Meyer to explain.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman and members. HB 3972 is actually an idea that came to mind to me during my election, during the early voting process and during the voting itself. I have 3 small children, and as everyone in this room is well aware, many polling locations are located in schools. And what I noticed from going from polling location to polling location is that on any particular school day, a Tuesday in September, by way of example, to get into a school, mine in particular, my kid's elementary school, I have to show a form of ID, I have to get buzzed in through 2 different doors, and then get a badge. However, on election day, we have hundreds, if not thousands, of strangers entering our kids' school without those type of precautions being taken. You can walk into a school, and depending upon the school and the principal and the administrator and the election judge, I have been in schools to where you can walk into the gym, vote, don't vote, turn right, go to the bathroom in the hall, and then all of a sudden you are in the hallways. HB 3972 is a very good bill to ensure that our children are saved. All HB 3972 does is require a principal or a senior administrator to meet with the election judge and have a security plan for early voting or election day, and then subsequently file that online with the Secretary of State 14 days prior to the election. It does not remove polling locations from schools. It does not add a cost at all to the schools or to the county, and it does not have anything to do with opening up the school to additional liability. And in fact, I would, without hesitation, argue that it limits the liability, because God forbid something like this were to happen, then at least there is a plan in place. This bill has been, I filed this bill over 30 days ago, or right at 30 days. I heard nothing, no opposition to it. We reached out to many different groups to make sure that they were okay with it, nothing. And then Friday afternoon comes along. Now, I know I'm a rookie at this and I haven't done this before, but then all of a sudden there were some folks who had some concerns, one of which was valid. There is currently the way that the bill is written, and we will be doing a committee substitute, we have it to where the principal and the election judge have to meet. Okay, and express, a concern was expressed, how about we do confer, just in case you can do it by email, by phone, so you don't actually have to physically meet. And I am completely fine with that, and we'll certainly be making that change to make it easier for everyone to coordinate. As a result of that change, we now have the Texas Association of Community Schools on board, the Texas Association of School Administrators on board, and before you, you have a letter, I believe, from the superintendent of my school district. I have both DISD, but also I have Highland Park ISD, and the superintendent of Highland Park ISD has provided you all a letter in full support of this bill, because he, along with senior security officials at Highland Park ISD, expressed this concern specifically and said, you know, having polling locations in schools is tough enough, but making sure that we are prepared and have a plan in place to protect our children is something which is necessary. This is something that we must do to help protect our children. I believe HB 3972 is a step in the right direction to increase security in schools during elections by giving the schools a chance to come up with an agreed plan to put in place while elections are being held on campus. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, members. I reserve my right to close, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, Rep. Meyer, I know y'all may have some questions, but I have a question because, I just need you to discuss the fact that if the school and the county chairman can't come up with a security plan, does that allow the school to not be a polling place?
No, there's no, and I'm more than happy to.
I think we need to get some fixes in that.
That's fine.
And if they don't get it done by a deadline, because I will tell you, you will have lots of schools that even when we pass a bill, they interpret it their own way and don't do what we intend them to do.
Understood, Madam Chairwoman. We do have a deadline in there of 14 days prior to the election.
But if they don't meet the deadline, then what happens?
Well, that's what we did. We when drafting this bill, what I really wanted to do was remain more general in nature rather than specific to avoid issues such as this. So by way of example, we don't have certain requirements dealing with what you have to do in your security plan.
No, I agree that you don't have, pardon me, I've just kind of dealt with some law and some schools not following the law.
Right.
So I'm kind of sensitive to that.
Sure.
And no, you're absolutely right. You don't want to dictate the type of security plan, but I think they need to know very clearly that they can't use this as an excuse not to be a polling place, and that they need to have a plan by a deadline. Or there is no plan, but they're still a polling place.
Absolutely. I'm fine with that type of language. Actually, okay. Representative Schofield and I discussed that just today because he expressed that concern with me. And certainly I don't want to use this as a vehicle by which folks would opt out. We did contact the Secretary of State and said, hey, how many school districts have actually although being told to be a polling place, said no, and unfortunately fortunately really, but unfortunately for Representative Schofield, there was one that was Katy ISD in the entire state of Texas. So we will certainly use that as a model, but the Secretary of State has you will hold polling locations in your school, and it's not as if there's been some huge pushback. But I do understand the concern, and I'm certainly amenable to fixing it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, members? Oh, Rep. Schofield.
Mr. Meyer, thank you. As you alluded, we had the opportunity to talk about the bill earlier, and I really appreciate your working with me on it. I had two concerns, one of which is the one the chairman addressed, which deals with whether or not they can reach an agreement. And I'll tell you, if the bill gets to the floor, I'll probably try to put an amendment on that says any school that can't reach an agreement on this because they don't think it's safe can't hold the school bond election or their ISD trustee elections there either, because those are the same voters. I've had that. It's unsafe for these voters, but when those same voters put on their school voting clothes, they're safe. The second issue that we discussed, and you obviously weren't here for the testimony on a bill that we had, Sarah Davis had earlier, last meeting, but when we talked about polling places and their advertisements, we were told, particularly in Harris County, 14 days out, they often didn't know. And I've been involved in Harris County elections for a quarter century now. I tell you, that's often the case. When they have to go to press with their notice of polling locations, multiple dozens of them will say to be determined. And I've had to, in my own elections where I'm working it, I've had to hold to the last minute my little cute mailings that gave you a little map to where you were going because they weren't sure yet. And that's nobody's fault. But there's no way a lot of districts are going to be able to meet this 14-day deadline that you have in here. And I would recommend, if you'd be amenable to something that just said not later than the first day of voting, as opposed to not later than the 14th day before the first day of voting.
The only issue that I have with the not later than the first day of voting, I'm first off amenable to shortening the time period, understand the concern. The only issue I have to the not before the first day of voting, or maybe they'll work together, is the chairwoman and your concern about them trying to use this as a vehicle to opt out. So therefore, if you don't have a time frame within which prior to the election being held, you could hear that excuse probably more readily than if you have the 3-day or 5-day or whatever it might be, and then you have, okay, if you haven't done it by this time period, then there's X. So if you do it on the day of the voting, then you may not be able to have that that X that would make sure that they in fact complied. But I am more than happy to work on the time frame, to work on those two things, and quite frankly, maybe they do dovetail into one another, so that they are preparing for the polling at their school regardless, and they need to have the plan in place. So I'm amenable to working on this. I mean, I can't stress to you all how important I believe this bill is, and so I am willing to work with everyone, because the thought behind it of just making sure our schools are prepared so we don't have another Sandy Hook on Election Day is important enough that these technicalities we will hammer out before we get this to the floor.
I think a lot of folks that have expressed concerns are equally as excited as you are about finally getting something in place that provides at least some security. And I think maybe the practical implication of a bill like this would be that at least the larger counties, the county-wide elected officials like the sheriff or whoever will start doing templates that they can use that will be helpful in making sure that at least the security checklist is met. And I think that something like that might be very helpful. We just want to make sure that it doesn't lead to...
Understood.
And as you know, a lot of places, the school is the only public building in the precinct.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? All right. You want to reserve the right to close?
Yes, I would like to reserve the right to close.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Chair calls John Oldham with the Texas Association of Elections Administrators against House Bill 3972.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. John Oldham, President, Texas Association of Elections Administrators, testifying against House Bill 3972. Although we applaud Representative Meyer and his concern for the safety of our children, we recognize or we assert that we are guests in these buildings. The schools, even though they're mandated, we still approach this that it's their facility. They should be the ones developing a security plan. They should tell us what the security plan is. Somebody mentioned a while ago an 82-year-old election judge. I've got quite a few of them. They are not capable of going to meet with a principal or an administrator and developing a security plan. They can be told what the school's security plan is. Nor am I sure that every school principal is in a position to do this. We use approximately 60 schools. I fear that we would have 60 different security plans. This should be on an administrative level. We also run into issues with, for example, in the last primary, my Democratic Party chair switched out almost 25% of my judges in the week before the election. Who would have done that plan? It just becomes unmanageable. Again, we feel that there should be a plan, but the school should develop a plan. As, for example, I have a lot of KDISD. They have a plan. They basically essentially kicked us out of the grade schools. We're still in the middle schools and high schools. But, they have a plan. They basically have an KDISD police officer at each of the voting areas. And the other school districts have that option. They have their own security forces. But this should be their plan and their facility. And I don't think we have a role in determining for them what their security plan should be. Any questions?
Any questions? Rep. Reynolds.
Yeah, kind of as he was laying out the bill, I understand the intent behind it. I mean, our kids' safety is always going to be first and foremost, it's paramount. But I guess I was just kind of thinking in my mind of precinct judges that I know that their expertise is not in public safety. And so we would be requiring them to become experts and even our principals. I mean, their expertise is in education. So to me, it becomes unmanageable if both the principal and the precinct chair don't have that level of expertise. And so it's my concern, again, that they would just be doing something because they had to do it, but not necessarily providing a good, solid plan for public safety. And so I think that it too will probably need to be more administrative so that there can be more uniformity and something that all the schools can follow once it's been vetted and the experts have weighed in on it. So I would hate to leave it to lay people to determine a great plan for something but I do think that something needs to be done. I just don't think it should be left to the principal and the precinct judge.
Rep. Israel.
John, when we are there other counties like Travis where in Travis County as the election is approaching, I see emails from people who are saying, "Hey, we're hurting for judges and we're going to do the training. If you know anybody who needs to make a little bit of extra money, please send them our way." Is that a common practice in counties where they're running short on election judges?
I can't speak to that really. I can speak to it only in Fort Bend County. We try to work with our two-party chairs to fill judge vacancies, and at this point we have probably 25% of our positions of alternate and judge positions that are vacant and are continuously vacant. For that reason, we do some clustering. But we don't advertise for judges. The only thing we've ever advertised for are bilingual workers.
I was on the AISD School Safety Task Force a few years back, and honestly, this issue never came up, but I know that as a result of the tragic crimes that we've had at schools, each school has its own safety plan, and how do we handle with these kind of scenarios? Do you think your judges would be amenable to, if not having a telephone conversation or a meeting, just to simply say, okay, precinct judge, you're in charge of the election on this day. Here's our emergency evacuation plan. Here's our security guard. We want you to meet him, and here's our plan. Would that be okay if the information flowed down from the school?
I think we would have no problem with that. Typically, for example, in KDISD, the principal will come out and meet the judge, or the judge will go. Obviously they have to make contact to find out how they're going to get into the building, how they can get into setup. Typically, the security people will come and introduce themselves, but it comes from their side, not from our side.
Thank you.
And Representative Reynolds knows some of our judges. Can you imagine? Yes.
Rep. Schofield.
Now that you raise an interesting point, would it be, from a procedural standpoint, as an election administrator, might it be better if the schools relayed their proposed plan to the election administrator, who then pushed them down to their...
I think clearly if we're going to have a plan, that is the only way to do it. I don't think that
as opposed to on a precinct by precinct level.
Precinct by precinct, because number one, we want consistency. How can I tell if somebody's violating the rules if I've got 110 sets of rules to deal, well, not 110, but if I have 63 sets of rules to deal with, because that's approximately how many schools we are in. We would love to be out of schools, but or we would love to have a school holiday, much like they do in Georgia and Alabama, where you don't have to be concerned about parking issues and security. But that, it seems to be fighting the windmill on that here.
When you mentioned KDISD, where I think sort of a compromise was struck. They just didn't want to use any schools at all, and eventually they said, well, don't use our schools where our youngest children are. And with the number of precincts we had between all the junior high schools and the other precincts having some public building, I think we were able to pretty much make it work, although the county had to scramble. But I'm just concerned if we get to the point where there are a lot of schools that can't or won't come to an agreement, that we may have difficulty getting the appropriate number of precinct voting locations.
That's true, and that's one reason why we're going through the application process for countywide polling place program. And we are talking here about basically terrorism, whether it be by one crazy person or not. But I think for me, a bigger concern are sex offenders going into primary schools. For example, Illinois, registered sex offenders cannot go into a school to vote. They have to vote. That's one of the reasons you can vote by mail there. But I think we have other concerns there simply than violence. And we left a school in Rosenberg a number of years ago because 3 elections in a row, a non-custodial parent walked in and tried to take a child. Now, so therefore we get locked down and we have an issue with voting. So it was just in, that particular neighborhood where, we had the demographics were such that we had a problem. So we abandoned that as a polling site. But I think that's certainly something that needs to be taken into account when you have if you develop a security plan. It's not just somebody with a gun, it's somebody with who's checking out the little kids.
Thank you.
Brett Phelan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just to further the point, the one time of the year I can walk in my child's school unchecked is around election time. It takes me 15 minutes the other day to go eat lunch with my child because of the IDs and the separate doors I have to go through and the badge I have to put on. So it's a different security level on election day. There's no doubt about that. So to clarify your point, you wouldn't have a problem with an administrator at a school develop a plan and give it to your election judges and say, this is our plan.
I wouldn't have a problem with that. I would prefer he gave it to me and we give it to the election judge, because we want to be aware of what that plan is, so we know that judge is administering that plan or complying with that plan. But no, I would not be concerned if
it was a blanket plan for 10, 15 schools in a certain district. You wouldn't have a problem with that.
I would not have a problem with that, and we recognize that every facility is different. We've been moved out of common areas in a lot of schools to perhaps temporary classrooms, or been locked into confined areas, which are inconvenient to voters, to be perfectly honest, but as a result of security concerns. But these are decisions made by the schools, and I think that they should be continued to be made by the schools, and that I have no business telling a school administrator what his security plan should be. Nor certainly do I think one of my judges has any business telling them what that security plan is. They should tell us, and we will comply with it.
The bill just says they shall meet. It didn't say that the election judge shall develop the plan.
Well, what's the point of meeting if you're not involved in that process?
Well, I think Representative Meyer is looking for suggestions.
Exactly.
I think that his bill was to just open the dialogue and see.
And that's great. Again, we have no problems with the schools developing a plan and giving it to us. But we think we are going beyond what our mandate is and running an election to become involved in that process.
No, and in my mind, I would think it would be the school because they know their facilities the best.
Exactly.
So,
thank you.
So you're not opposed if they have their security plan, and it'd be great if they all turn it in.
And again, one universal security plan may not work because some
different
schools have lobbies that can be cordoned off from the rest of the schools, so some don't.
Representative Meyer.
I don't know if I'm supposed to even do this
can
or not,
talk.
but I figured I'd take the opportunity.
I can do what I want up here. So
Good,
yes,
very
you
good.
can talk.
To help clarify, and again, had you all come
we
to me.
I didn't see this bill till Friday, so.
Okay, so here's what I was trying to do, and hopefully we can work on this. I am not trying to make an election judge or any other election official responsible for the school's security. What I was attempting to do, and we can always work on language to fix this, was making sure that the school's plan worked with your plan to hold an election. Because as you might imagine, there might be a principal or two who'd put you in a bathroom in the back because it was the safest place and say, that's most secure. So what I was trying to do was not get the safety aspect of it. I was trying to get you all involved to make sure, okay, the safety works with the goal of voters. And so that's what I was trying to do, and I'm more than happy to work with you on that.
We would love to.
Because that was really
we
the
have
idea.
been almost put in bathrooms for that.
No, and so I was trying to be sensitive to the voting process as well as the security. So I'm more than happy to talk to you all about how we could make this work.
And we would be happy to do that. We just don't want to turn over. We don't want to take a responsibility from the school that belongs to the school, nor do we want to turn it over to. There's a joke in our business. How do you test your election judges to see if they pass, if they're qualified? Put a mirror under their nose. If they fog it up, they pass. And unfortunately, that's what we have a lot of.
Understood.
Because they're the folks that have the time and are willing to work. So.
Well, and can you go visit with Rip Meyer and just kind of talk about that?
With who?
With me.
Oh,
With
yes.
Representative-
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said.
Yeah.
No problem.
I didn't know her for some reason.
I'm new
I-
here. You'll get my name down. It's
I
fine.
know.
No, I'm kidding.
He's one of
Okay.
our new freshmen,
That's
so
right.
you need to get to
been a
know
long.
him. You need to get to know him.
We all
anyway.
agree it's been a long day.
Thank you. I look forward to the conversation.
Okay, are there any other questions, members? All right. Chair calls Alan Vera with the Harris County Republican Party Ballot Security Committee against House Bill 3972.
Alan Vera, Harris County Republican Party Ballot Security Committee, testifying against HB 3972. This bill has wonderful intentions, and thank you for thinking of our kids and the smoothest of the elections. But the execution is counterproductive. Last November, my committee and I placed 865 presiding and alternate judges throughout Harris County. 865. Great citizens stepping forward, doing their duty to help in the democratic process. I wouldn't trust a single one of them to write a security plan for a school building of any size or any level. Okay? Having gone out and visited their locations throughout the day and met many of the principals, I wouldn't trust most of them to write a security plan for their school building. This is something that has to be handled at a professional and senior level. I recommend you reconsider the bill and have it done between the school district and the contracting party, the county, or the local county election administrator. This is something that has to be left to professionals and then explained to and distributed to the presiding judges. Great idea, much needed. This process doesn't cut it.
Okay. Questions, members? All right. Chair calls Jesse Romero of Common Cause Texas on the bill. Again, please state your name.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Jesse Romero. I'm with Common Cause Texas. We're on the bill. We do value the security that the representative put forward, and we are with him on that. We're on the bill because of some of the details that have already been addressed. So I don't want to be repetitive, and I thank you for your time.
Okay. Any questions, members? Thank you. All right. Chair calls Glenn Maxey, Texas Democrat Party, against the bill.
Thank you. I'm Glenn Maxey with the Texas Democratic Party. We were in opposition to House Bill 3972. Everything's been said that was our concerns, and so we'll work with the chair.
Can y'all go visit with him?
Yes,
I don't think anybody is disagreeing that we need something. It's just how do we get there?
We just don't
Okay.
think that election judges should have been writing the plans, and
Okay.
so
All right.
we got it.
Chair calls Bill Fairbrother, Texas Republican County Chairman's Association, against the bill.
Bill Fairbrother, Texas Republican County Chairman's Association, against the HB 3972 as written. Ditto on everything already said. And just another thought, in Williamson County, the elections office sends an employee to scout out potential polling places for HAVA compliance and ADA and other things. And at least in my county, it might make sense to them to also have security be, one of the checkpoints as they're evaluating polling places, and get it adopted then, independent of who the election judge is, and while they're choosing the polling places, might be a logical place to get a lot of that solved as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Again, I encourage you to visit with Rep Meyer. Rep Meyer, yes. Okay. So, any other questions? No. Okay, Rep Meyer. Bill Sargent with the Galveston County Clerk's Office against House Bill 3972. Welcome to the legislature.
I think this is going great for me thus far.
Bill Sargent, Chief
Doesn't
Deputy
really mean
Clerk for
they're
Elections
really
for Galveston
against it,
County.
just a little.
Speaking in opposition to 3972. Is he a great American?
He is wonderful.
Yes.
Okay.
This isn't dead. It may be mostly dead, but
I am testifying on behalf of
Yes.
Galveston County, but also the County Clerks
And-
Association,
okay. And your position in
and we're opposing it.
okay.
Okay.
And the
I-
bill number.
3972.
Okay, you probably already said it. I was talking. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. I've been asked to read comments from the DA in Brazoria County, so I'll do that if you don't mind. Schools should direct how the buildings will be secured, to be indicating to the county clerk what space is available and the parameters for the space. This is not our building, it's theirs. Election judges will not be familiar with school operating procedures, therefore he or she, being the judge, will not be able to provide the input for the school that needs to determining the security requirements. There could be inconsistencies between various buildings. I know in my county, for example, we have several buildings that are exactly the same, but they're used differently and the security for them is different. So you need to, the blueprint's the same, but the judge and the administrator for each one would have things, would deal with things differently. Judges have no background, which we've already talked about, the other questions that they had was if a judge was to make a decision about something, does the judge does that action hold the county liable for something that they decided upon? Do they speak for the county? I would say they do not. So I guess where I'm coming from would be, there's no question we want to protect the kids, but the issue is more one of it should be a notification by the schools as to what's required of us. I know, for example, with CCISD, the Clear Creek Independent School District, where we in Galveston County, they have a vice president or superintendent who's responsible for all security across the entire spectrum in Harris County as well as in Galveston County. And I tried once to get into a building to look at a polling location, and they referred me to this guy. They would not let me in, and they called 2 sheriff's deputies on me to make sure that I did not get in that building until they got word from on high. And I already had clearance, but they just didn't get the word. So it's already there. When we have a polling location, for example, at Creekside Intermediate School, they close off a gym. The gym has an outside entrance. It's easy for a voter to get in, but no students are in that room, and everything else is closed off. So there is security out there, at least in our county. But it's not for us to determine what that is. And the real concern that our legal people have is what is the liability if we get involved with creating those plans.
Well, I know y'all are ahead of the game, but there are a lot of counties out there that don't do anything, and I think that's what Representative Meyer is trying to address.
We're at the forefront.
I know. You the guys are at the forefront. Okay. Rep Meyer, we have...
One other thing real quick. You had a question, Ms. Israel, about how we select judges earlier. In our county, nobody becomes a judge unless they've served first as a clerk, and then as an alternate judge, and then as a judch. Now we work with our the parties tell us who's going to serve, but we because of our relationship with both party chairs, we work with them and we put people through that process because we don't want somebody becoming a judge who doesn't even know how to check a voter in. We want that history and that background, and so typically that's how we process people in, and we also get an idea of, is this person going to be cognizant of what's going on around them. So that's the process we use. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Rep Myers, we have Laquan Rogers, Get Fit With Me. She is in favor of your bill. And she has not showed up to testify, so we list her as not testifying. So sorry. Okay. But we have George Hammerling. Chair calls George Hammerling with the Harris County Clerk's Office on the bill. It's getting better. On the bill.
Good evening. My name is George Hammerline, Chief Deputy of the Harris County Clerk's Office on the bill, HB 3972. Once again, not to belabor the point, we understand his concerns about the children. They're honorable. His staff was nice enough to meet with me today and go over some of our concerns, and they said they'd work on addressing them. Our just main thing to highlight is, most of the election judges, we're always impressed if they can just get the equipment going. Security plan by most of them, if they had any detail in putting it together, I think would be suspect. And you would like to think the schools, which have at least in Harris County, they all have police departments that, I think their plans would be better, and hopefully it'd be more of emphasis on the schools to push their police down to where they're having elections. We already have 2 school districts in Harris County that don't let us have elections at their schools, and we hate to just keep raising more barriers, even though there's never been an incident in the United States that the election school is aware of a voter doing anything nefarious during an election on a school campus. That we'd like to think that schools would not put up any more barriers to us having elections in public buildings that the public paid for. So hopefully the schools can come up with a security plan. I'll be glad to take any questions.
Any questions? Rep. Schofield.
Two quick ones. First, you said that there are two districts in your county. Other than mine, what's the other one? Or is it my other one?
I have the letter from me. I hate to mess it. It's Clear Creek.
Okay. So half of a district and the other half's in Galveston.
Right.
And you said that our county had several concerns that you discussed with Mr. Meyer's staff. What were the concerns of Harris
Well, just
County?
kind of would have been reiterated here. That the individual, he may have been blessed with when he went to Highland Park that all the election judges were sharp and energetic and worldly. Instead of just, we're amazed they can find they're calling us at 10 to 7 going, now where did you send me and where's the polling, and how do I hook this up? So, it's a challenge just to get the individuals there. Then there's certain part of the election judges that say, I'm not doing anything if I don't get paid for it. And, they don't even want to come to training because they're saying they don't get paid enough. And if we throw another thing saying, oh yeah, and by the way, you got to be a part-time security, even coordinator, they're like, well, I don't know how to do that, and I'm not doing it.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, just
Rep. Reynolds.
thank you, Madam Chair. So you touched on something I was brainstorming as the people were testifying, and my question is that most school districts, I don't know if all, have their own police departments, and so it seems to me that it would be more prudent to have someone from law enforcement to be able to work, representative of the schools to come up with a plan that they would give to, bless you, that would be executed, as opposed to an election judge or a principal coming up with a plan.
No.
Would you agree with that?
No, I absolutely agree. And even their presence, we've had some school districts saying you can't use our schools, and say, well, don't you have a law enforcement? Yes, we do. Why don't you put them at the school? Well, that's not their mission. I'm like, okay, And also, it's already in the election code, and they don't do that, and they just say, since the election code didn't have a penalty, they don't really care about it, and the attorneys for both of those school districts said, take us to court. Yeah, so.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Chair calls Dana de Beauvoir with the County Clerk's Legislative Committee against House Bill 3972.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dana de Beauvoir, Travis County Clerk, here on behalf of County Clerk's Legislative Committee against House Bill 3972. When county clerks got this bill, we talked about it on Thursday. On Thursday afternoon, I called over to Representative Mayer's office and talked with Sally Armstrong to get an appointment on Friday. And I met with them on Friday and brought them a 6-point written list of exactly how to make this bill work. So county clerks are very hopeful that what was a nice idea could actually be turned into something that would really be workable on the ground. And we would have offered Representative Meyer our help earlier, but we weren't consulted and we didn't know about this bill until this happened.
Well, I always think it's, y'all see, we are just pounded with everything.
Yeah.
Y'all look at it, so I always put it on you to contact the rep.
And that was what we did, and I hope that 6 points that I gave them will be very helpful. Because I really think that he's on to something. In Travis County, we're already doing security plans because, it's the right thing to do. And a lot of counties have already thought this through. But there were a couple of things in this bill that are just not practical. They're just not going to work. And I'm sorry it got this far. Welcome to the world of elections. We'll be happy to help you next time you want to work on a bill like this. But just for a couple little things. Obviously, we've already made the point that it is misplaced to put this with the election day judge. you're binding the county in the wrong place. It's not somebody who's qualified. So please give it to the elections administrators. We welcome it. We will help get it done. Tell the schools to present a plan to us and we'll get it implemented. But here's another example of the 6-point plan, or the 6 points that we made to them. There isn't a deadline in the bill for getting the information to the elections administrator so that you can make sure it actually gets implemented. The only deadline in the bill that's written so far is a 14-day deadline that says that you have to turn the information into the Secretary of State. I would also ask the representative to reconsider turning in any kind of site plan about security at a school to any higher place where then we're not sure what we're going to do with it. Is it just going to sit there? Is it to be put on the internet? My request to the representative is no, don't reveal those security aspects to anybody if they don't have to know it. It's perfectly fine to sit locally and do nothing else with it. So one of the things we've asked for consideration on is let's don't reveal the layout of the school or any security aspects any further to the public than we absolutely have to. That's included in the 6 points county clerks have offered, and we love you. We want to make your bill work. So thank you.
Any questions, members? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Chair calls Rebecca Flores with the Texas School Alliance against the bill. And I don't see her, so Rebecca Flores is the Texas School Alliance against House Bill 3972. Was here but does not wish to testify at this time. And then we have Secretary of State Ashley Fisher on the bill. If anyone wishes to talk to the Secretary of State, okay. So, is there anyone else who wishes to testify for, against, or on House Bill 3972? Seeing none, Chair recognizes Representative Meyer to close.
While he's doing it, Madam Chair, can I say something?
Oh, yeah, Rep. Reynolds, before you close.
I commend you as a father of 3 young children for bringing this bill. I think it's so important that we have public safety, especially with young children that are going to be susceptible to strangers coming in their schools. So I commend you for bringing this bill, and I hope that you can work with those stakeholders to make it work. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. And briefly, just to close, because I don't want to take up any more of y'all's time, and to your point, I am here to work with everyone in this room to get this done. Obviously, we heard from the folks who are putting on the elections. I've got superintendents and principals and the school board and everyone else on board, because I understand from a practical point of view for the folks putting on the elections, this is a more difficult process, which is why. And again, willing to work and take the precinct judges out of it. I was just trying to make sure, like I said, that they weren't stuck in that both of the issues being A, safety first, and B, making sure that folks can get in and vote, were taken care of. That being said, you will be obviously receiving a committee substitute. I will meet with everyone in this room who's willing to come talk to me so that we can hammer out something which is workable, because that's at the end of the day why we're all here. And quite frankly, to put not too fine of a point on it, as the representative pointed out, I mean, it is our job. It's not the election folks' job. It is our job to protect our children. And so that's why it is important for us to make this piece of legislation work. So thank you again for your time, members. Madam Chairwoman, I certainly appreciate it.
Great. Thank you for bringing it. So with that, Rep. Fallon. He closed.
And I just, Representative Meyer, thank you. Ma'am?
Yes. I recognize you.
Thank you.
You shot it close.
No, Representative Meyer, I just want to echo Representative Reynolds' comments as well. And working with the stakeholders, this bill can become the acorn that becomes the oak. Good work.
Thank you, Representative Fallon.
And you closed.
And I closed.
Okay. House Bill 3972 will be left pending at this time. Oh, okay, yes, okay. The chair back up. The chair withdraws the substitute to House Bill 3972, and now House Bill 3972 will be left pending at this time. Okay, chair lays out House Bill 2937 and recognizes Representative Schofield to explain the bill.
I think it's just me and Representative Syria yet left, so I'll talk long enough for him to show up.
No, Syria
They pulled
has
it down?
withdrawn. Yeah.
Oh, okay, then I'm last.
Yeah.
No filibustering.
It's like the room starts emptying out. As you all know, non-citizens are not eligible to vote in elections in Texas. They're also not eligible to serve on juries. Our current law says that if somebody gets out of jury duty by saying, I'm not a citizen, the jury officials send the notice to the voter registrar, who then sends them a letter and gives them the opportunity to say, oh, but I am now a citizen, let me vote. So I can be a non-citizen to get out of jury duty and still be a citizen to vote. This bill is very simple. This says if you swear to the jury officials that you are not a citizen and not required to serve on the jury, we will then immediately strike you from the voter rolls because you have told us in a government document that you are not a citizen. That's all the bill does, and I will reserve the right to close because I'm scared to find out what happens if you do not. So I know that there are witnesses, and I'd be happy to hear from them.
Okay. Any questions, members? All right. So Chair calls John Oldham with the Texas Association of Elections Administrators in favor of House Bill 2937.
Thank you, John Oldham, EA in Fort Bend County and President of TAEA, speaking in favor of House Bill 2937. We all of us who are voter registrars see this at least once a year. The jury notices come out and somebody responds that they are not a citizen. And then we have to go through the process once we are notified of sending out a letter. Then the voter usually calls us and ties up a staff member for 15 minutes, and then they tie me up for 30 minutes. So we figure for these people who lie that it costs the county of Fort Bend about $100 a pop. So we would like to deport these people who say they're not citizens, but in the absence of that, we'll be happy to cancel their voter registration. So
I presume you only want to deport the ones that take up your time by bothering.
Well, yeah, that's we are the position that, hey, jury duty is a civic obligation, and if you want to sink to the point of claiming you're not a citizen to get out of it, that there should be some penalty. And canceling your registration is a small step. Makes us feel good. So.
Any questions? Representative Israel.
Mr. Oldham, does that mean they really were citizens, but they lied so that they wouldn't have to do jury duty?
Everyone I've dealt with lied so they wouldn't have to do jury duty.
So they were citizens?
They were citizens.
They were able to vote?
Had been able to vote.
And they were able
yes.
to do jury duty?
And they were able to do jury duty, but
Okay.
they think it's a good way, slick way to get out of jury duty.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other? Chair calls Alan Vera with the Harris County Republican Party Ballot Security Committee in favor of the bill.
Alan Vera, Harris County Republican Party Ballot Security Committee, testifying for HB 2937. The situation that this bill addresses is not hypothetical or rare. Working with other voter integrity groups, we found this problem to be chronic across Texas. Each month, hundreds of people in counties across Texas are not citizens when it comes to jury duty, but magically become citizens for purposes of voting. There's a contest underway between the states and the federal Department of Just Us over the degree to which states have the right to demand proof of citizenship of a person before giving voter registration. This is not the case in this situation. This bill addresses individuals who raise their hands and shout, "I can't serve on a jury because I am not a citizen." It deals with a self-admission on a government form that this person denies citizenship. This bill does not deny an individual the chance to go back and rectify either situation by paying the appropriate fines for lying to get out of jury duty. But until he or she does correct the problem, this bill protects against voter fraud by self-declared non-citizens. Please pass 2937 out of committee.
Any questions, members? Okay.
Thank you.
Chair calls Glenn Maxey with the Texas Democrat Party on the bill.
Glenn Maxey with the Texas Democratic Party. I registered on this bill. Clearly, we do not want non-citizens participating in elections. That's obvious. A couple sessions ago, when Representative Anchia was on this committee, he did a study I don't remember the details of it, but he found at least a third of the people who say this were actually citizens just getting out of jury duty, as we talked about. I believe that as long as people are given notice that they can rectify this, I believe that it should have a second section that would actually prosecute the people who are lying on the jury duty thing, and just to really put the onus on them, because it is sort of a get out of jail free thing here of doing one to get out of jury duty, and that's all our comment is. I would love to see people. I don't believe that people who lie on to get out of jury duty probably should be voting.
And I just want to be clear. My intent is that to get the folks who aren't citizens off the voter rolls, and I would certainly like it if the local officials prosecuted those who lied to get out of jury duty. I don't know if you're aware of this. There was a Harvard study. They took large samples of individuals, 32,000 people in 2008 and 55,000 in 2010. And in the crosstabs is where you find all the interesting stuff. They found that over 14% of the non-citizens in their sample were registered to vote. So it's not an insignificant number of people. And I think if you, and frankly, a lot of times you get caught up in a voter registration drive and you put your thing in. You're not trying to cheat. But when you get called to jury duty and you go, well, I'm a citizen of Bolivia, they ought to then take you off the voter rolls.
Absolutely.
Rep. Israel.
So if we had online voter registration, this would eliminate them from being.
Not if they just check the boxes without us checking where they're
Or
a
it
citizen.
could make it worse.
Well, no. If you go to online voter registration, they have to complete their full Social Security number and their date of birth and their name and their address. That's all.
Just saying.
We'll have that discussion at a different date. Chair recognizes Bill Sargent, the Galveston County Clerk's Office, for the bill.
Bill Sargent, Galveston County Clerk's Office. I'm just voting, I'm in favor of the bill.
And can you
That's
say
it.
the bill number, please? House Bill 2937.
That's the one, 2937.
You got it. Thank you, Bill. Okay, Bill, don't go away. You registered twice because somehow it got in there twice. I know.
It didn't work.
So you're Bill Sargent, Galveston County Clerk's Office, and you are for House Bill 2937,
Yes, ma'am.
correct? Okay.
Yeah.
And it's the same you?
Yeah.
Got it. All right. We're good. Okay. Is there any other? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Chair calls George Hammerling with the Harris County Clerk's Office in favor of House Bill 2937.
Good evening, George Hammerline at the Harris County Clerk's Office here in support of HB 2937. We think it's a good idea that if you have a written signed document from an individual stating they are not a citizen, let's just take them at their word. It also, in the bill, gives the EA or the county clerk the right to get the information, and it would be interesting just to compare the information of a slug of people that said I'm not a citizen and compare it against the voting rolls, see who has voted. And once again, what the court administrators do with that as they go forward, be as it may, but it should be good if someone's having the advantage of voting and then didn't want the obligation of being on the jury pool, they should have to answer for it.
Any questions, members? Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Chair calls Selena Marina with MALDEF against House Bill 2937. And again, will you state your name, who you represent, and the bill number, please?
Good evening, Chairwoman.
And your
My name
position.
is Selena Moreno. I'm a legislative staff attorney with MALDEF, and I'm registering against this bill.
Can you say the bill number, please?
Sure. I'm
2937.
registering against 2937, House Bill 2937. And the reason I'm registering against it, it seems like we're starting from a single premise that people are making misrepresentations. I'm not saying that does not happen, but I would ask the committee to consider other premises. To begin, for example, people can make mistakes on a form, as well as people can adjust their status. So it's definitely possible that, and people adjust their immigration status, their citizenship status all the time. So it's possible that somebody at the time of filling out a form was a legal permanent resident and has since become a citizen. I also have wanted to raise a question of how strong the matches are on these lists. Are they weak matches? Are they strong matches? So I just wanted to raise those concerns. Just as an example of people that changed their status and somebody couldn't overstay their visa and then marry a U.S. citizen.
Madam Chair?
Yeah, Representative.
Well, let's take the two different. First, say making a mistake. Now, it's one thing to fill out the form mistakenly, but then you're going to tell the judge I'm not a citizen and leave the building. That's a whole lot of mistake before you realize that you're not a citizen. So that would seem to be that's a heck of a mistake. You spent all afternoon making this mistake before you realize that you are a citizen. But on the other end of it, when you're talking about changing citizen status, at the time that you show up and say, I'm not a citizen for jury duty, you're not a citizen. You shouldn't be registered to vote. If you become a citizen, we'll all attend the party when you get sworn in, and then you have a right to register at that point. You should never have been registered back when you said, I'm not a citizen, let me out of jury duty.
I guess I'm not clear on why it's necessary to remove the notice requirement, because it seems like some of that is resolved with those 30 days, that 30-day notice period.
So they needed notice to know that they were lying when they told the jury that they weren't a citizen? Because the only way they can be properly registered to vote at the time they said they weren't a citizen is if they were lying when they said they weren't. If they weren't a citizen at that time, they couldn't be registered to vote at that time legally. So what do I give them notice for?
Well, so for example, when I mentioned mistake, there are people, for example, that don't believe that they are citizens, and for example, find out that they meet their father for the first time and realize that person is a U.S. citizen, and so that person then while he did not know that he was a citizen.
So he didn't know he was a citizen, but he registered to vote thinking he was registering to vote illegally. Thinking I'm not a citizen, I'm going to register to vote anyway.
Well, I think that it is possible, though, for people to claim citizenship and have it be a mistake.
Okay, I think the bill just addresses the point of where it's at jury duty. And then, no one's making any judgment before then. It's at the jury duty position to clean up the voter rolls.
I guess, and I'm not clear why the notice requirement is necessary to take out.
Why does somebody need notice when they've told you, they've affirmatively told you, I'm not a citizen, let me out of jury duty? Why did they then need notice to be told that they have told somebody they're not a citizen? That's effectively what the notice is. The notice is, hey, you told us you're not a citizen. Well, I know, I told you. I stood up in court and said I'm not a citizen. Why do they need notice of what they told you?
Rep. Allen.
Yeah, thank you for coming in your testimony. I mean, my mom taught me when we were very little, your actions have consequences sometimes. And so I'm a pretty simple person, so I just want to clear this up. If somebody is on jury, if they get summoned to jury duty, they've registered to vote, right? That's how we get our pool. So they've either made a mistake or lied at that point. Then they get up and say, I'm not a citizen. So they either now are telling the truth or they're lying. So because you had an example of, well, what if they were a permanent resident and then they became a citizen later? So clearly, if they're a permanent resident, they had to have made either an error, either by commission or omission, to be there in the first place. So I have and all we're doing with your bill, Representative Schofield, is striking them from the voter list. If then they proactively, 10 days, 20 days, 30 days later, register to vote again and they were a citizen, they're back on the rolls. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, well, this is great bill. Great bill.
Prosecuted for having
actions, consequences. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Chair calls Jesse Romero, Common Cause of Texas, against the bill.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Jesse Romero. I'm with Common Cause Texas. We are in opposition to House Bill 2937. And before approaching the podium, I did understand that registering to vote is not the only criteria where you are called to jury duty. It's taking off the driver's license rolls. And we're testifying against this bill, Representative Schofield, because of unintended consequences that this bill may have. Number one being, you hear the joke all the time, well, just tell them you're not a citizen. People say that. Maybe some people do it. I don't. I show up. But maybe some people do it. Why you would just arbitrarily just strike them off the rolls without giving them that notice to, there's got to be some kind of consequences. But you could be called just because you're on the driver's license roll, not just because you registered to vote. So why would we want to reduce voting in any kind of way? That's number one. Number two, people do make mistakes. People are confused. What if they think that maybe, am I a resident of this county or the city? And so they say I'm not a resident of San Antonio, but because they reside in Bexar County, or they may live in Helotes or something like that. The mistakes are made. I mean, and these would be unintended consequences that would shrink voting. We want to be about more voting. That's what this committee is about, to increase democracy, to increase participation, not decrease it or just arbitrarily strike them from the rolls. Could be, in the worst case scenario, it'd be a purge. But
so if they were given a notice that you're being purged off the registered voter list, then you would support the bill?
Some of the clerks I talked to when I came up here, I said, are they aware that if they lie, there's consequences to that? And they said they don't know. That's with the district clerk. Well, maybe there is something that needs more clarification here. So because of that, we would be against it because of the unintended consequences, Representative Schofield.
Actually, I think the consequences are quite intended. If somebody says, I'm not a citizen, to get off jury duty, the intent of the bill is they will be stricken from the voter rolls because non-citizens aren't allowed to vote. They have declared themselves to not be a non-citizen.
Been many of them, they shouldn't be on the voter rolls, number one. But what are the people that are citizens that do say this, and they were called because they were simply on the driver's license roll, did that, and then summarily just stricken off the rolls? That's our point. And that's the only reason we were opposing this bill, Representative Schofield. The unintended consequences of shrinking voting when we should be increasing it, increasing participation. Thank you. Be happy to answer any of your questions.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, so we have Laquan Rogers, Get Fit With Me, in favor of your bill, House Bill 2937. And she signed up to testify, but is not here, so she does not wish to testify. And does anyone want to speak to anyone at the Secretary of State? We have Keith Ingram, Secretary of State, on the bill. Okay. So, is there anyone else who wishes to testify for, against, or on House Bill 2937? And seeing none, then I recognize Rep. Schofield to close.
Madam Chairman, members, I appreciate your taking the time, and since given to the late hour, I won't say much, but I think this is a very simple bill that just lines up people's statements about their own status with their voter registration status. I would ask you to pass it out of committee, and thank you very much. I close.
Okay. And I think we did pretty good on time, and I think we had some pretty intense testimony, so that is encouraging to put more bills out so that we can hear them. I know we're all sitting there going, ah. There will be no further business before us this evening, so the House Committee on Elections is now adjourned, subject to the call of the chair. Thank you.